Hello, everyone, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Friday the 13th. Seems like we've had a lot of Friday the 13th lately. Well, apart from the fact that it's very, very overcast in Phoenix and the weather is really cooled down, thankfully, it does seem to be a bit of a dark day on a Friday the 13th. Where's a black cat? Oh, never mind. All right, welcome in, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday. Today we have a machine we've looked at before, but a different flavor. It's sort of like reviewing ice cream. This is the vanilla Haagen-Dazs. This is the chocolate Haagen-Dazs. They are not quite the same, but they're made by the same company. So essentially, that's the best analogy I got for you. But this is the MS-02. Now, we did look at the MS-02, I suppose is what it is, a couple weeks ago when we used the bare bones version to show you how you can build it up yourself. And that's about half the price of this one. It wasn't cheap at $1,500. So you double that and you get to one that's, I wouldn't say it's maxed out, but it has essentially maxed out, darn near maxed out the RAM. If not, it is. Actually, I think on SO-DIMM memory, it is maxed out. Desktop memory, you could go to 256 gigs of memory. This 192 gigs of memory already in there. And it's ECC memory, meaning it's error correction code memory that's typically used in servers and high memory intensive applications where the memory gets checked for errors to ensure data integrity at all times. Most desktops don't need that. It's a waste of money. And one would even argue on servers it can be a waste of money. It kind of depends on the use case scenario and the importance, you know, how mission critical the system is and whatever role it's performing for the company. So one of the reasons we're looking at a $3,000 version of that $1,500 computer is that 192 gigs of error correction code memory, which is not cheap. On top of that, it's got a 2 terabyte NVMe and Windows 11 Pro already installed. And that's where you come up with the extra $1,500. But this is sort of like take it out of the package and start using it. The bare bones version is great if you have parts laying around you want to reuse, or you have a special discounted price on RAM, it'll save you some money, or maybe you just like the idea of putting it together yourself. There are options. So we're going from the very baseline, which was our original review, to the top of the line. Now, I think maybe they have a version of this with a 4 terabyte NVMe, and it has multiple NVMEs that support RAID, and we're going to get into that. But you know, who is this for, I think is the big question. And I think it's really for anybody who can afford it. I don't see any downside. I'm just going to tell you right out of the gate. I don't see any downside for anybody to get this that isn't fully utilizing everything it can do. If you can afford it, it'll certainly browse the web. It'll certainly do your video editing. It'll pretty much do whatever you want it to do. And it has room for a low-profile graphics card, so if you want to throw like an NVIDIA 5060 low-profile in there, no problem, it'll do your gaming too. So this is more of a computer that you would use to design the games, I would say, than to play them. But yeah, it'll play them, sure. So then the question is really, who's it really intended for? And I think that the people who would buy this are people that would be running their own large language models locally of AI. Home lab enthusiasts, people that like to run their own servers at home. I mean, it's really up to your imagination, because if a computer can do it, this will do it. Sometimes we run into scenarios where I feel it necessary to explain limitations of the computers, especially the budget entry-level computers, where you say, well, you can only do this much RAM, or you can only have one channel of memory, or you know, it's never going to go any faster with the NVMe drive because it's all limited based on the CPU at that price point. This is like there's no ceiling on it, or the ceiling is so much higher. It's a cathedral ceiling, okay, compared to like a normal 10-foot ceiling. So what we're looking at here is a lot more power, a lot more flexibility, and it doesn't take up that much more room than a standard mini PC. And yet the servers that we were buying 15 years ago were easily $5,000, did not match this anywhere close in specs, sucked up a lot of electricity, were very expensive to run, and were constantly breaking down. So I was getting my customers, my MSP customers, off of their servers and onto network attached storage units, because most of my customers were sold unnecessarily, in my opinion, a server just for file sharing. So this is going to handle that, no problem. On the other hand, you could get a NAS with a lot of storage for $3,000 if that's all you're looking for. But this will do it. It'll do everything that's possible today and probably into the foreseeable future, but I don't have a crystal ball. So if you like the scenario of I'm just going to get the best there is and then I don't have to worry about it for a long time, I don't think they've got any competition. The MS-02 kind of stands alone in what it is, and we're going to look at it today. The difference being that it is, take it out of the package and plug it in and start using it. You don't have to be a tech, although probably more technical people would be the kind of people to buy this, but you don't have to be. There's a word I'm looking for where it's you can take it out of the package. I like to use the term ready to eat. You don't have to prep it. You don't have to cook it, right? Like with the bare bones version of this that we paid about $1,500 for. We had to go through some steps to put in our own RAM, put in our own solid state drive. It required some disassembly, and it disassembles a little differently than other mini PCs. Not difficult, just different. So it was a little unfamiliar, a little slow going. And then put in our own operating system, the drivers, and then finally it's in a state where this is now, where we can take it out, plug it in, and be ready to go. Just an out-of-the-box solution. Now, before I open the box, let me say hello to everybody joining us with a special shout out to our friend Buster. That's Peter Laycock, who joins us from Scotland, and as always sends us an Amazon gift card as instead of a super chat, just prior to the show starting. So hello to Buster. Always good to see you, my friend. And he usually gives us the weather report there in Edinburgh, Scotland. Let's see if it's in there today. There it is, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 degrees Celsius right now at Edinburgh. Yeah, that sounds pretty cold. Let's say stay indoors. Of course, it is nighttime there, so we'll get a little bit colder in the night. Jonathan Fells says hello. There's Samick saying hello, along with Mark Gaines and Sean Skinner. I also see Lana Drow and Ben Laird. There's also 3D Everything, Thomas Mac T. David Graham joining us, saying hello. Doman 2000. Andy says hello. There's Luke Greenia joining us, along with James Disher. Katrina H. joins us and says hello here in the chat. Nicholas Barlow joins us in the chat. If you're watching this, please join the chat room. If you're watching a recording of this, please try to join us during a live show. We'd love to interact with you. You're missing half of this show. If you watch the show and you're not familiar with it, and you're saying, why is this so long? I don't get it. It's because you weren't here. It's like watching other people eat dinner. Join us around the table for the conversation and the interaction, and you'll find the time goes by very quickly when you're a part of it. So if you choose not to, then, that's not my fault. We'd love to have you in here joining us and hanging out with us. We've got friends from all over the world, all over this planet, as we broadcast live in 4K worldwide here on YouTube. We do that at 1:00 p.m. Phoenix time, which is currently 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And that's our regular schedule. If you want to pop in, just watch that time and join us in our live chat and say hello. You'll be surprised at the friends you'll make. And all it takes is saying hello. That's how it starts. Bill Stodd joins us as well, saying hello. Elijah Dickens says hello. There's Dazzle555 and Morton joining us. Bajan Guy, John Williams, Andy Kane, RW Roblu says hello. Alan with a Y says hello. Xander Vanderhoven joins us, as well as Jack Kugelmus, Ray Stealth, Junebug, Minhai Podalian says hello from Romania. I'm a big fan of you. Right on. Well, thank you. We've had a few fans from Romania, a few viewers, I should say, and everybody's always welcome. And of course, I find it special when we've got viewers all around the world that kind of surprise me, right? I don't expect to see a whole bunch of Romanians or Brazilians joining the channel, and quite often, not only do we see that with people in Australia, Canada, England, Scotland, New Zealand, even islands in the Caribbean, which seems unlikely, but yet they from time to time will appear from like Trinidad, Tobago, etc. So it always tickles me to see people from all over the world. And yeah, you want to give us a shout out from where you're watching from? We love seeing that. It also kind of tells everybody else that I'm not exaggerating, that's really what's happening. Yeah, Ray Stell said he's from the Caribbean, or is it Caribbean? I don't know. Alan with an E says hello to all today. Trinidad and what? Is it Tobago, Toboggan, two bagels? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I've never been there. He spells it out. It's what I just said. I just probably pronounced it. I put the syllables in the wrong place, I guess. Oh, you gotta love Americans. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you to our friends over at MINISFORUM. Really appreciate their generosity and support of the channel. And Mara says, I've got email. All right. Well, let's check the email and then we'll start our unboxing. Oh, Mark Gaines, watching us from Northern Ireland, sends us an Amazon gift card and said, hope you'll enjoy this Amazon gift card. This is my contribution in lieu of a super chat. If you're new here and you're wondering why people might do that, it's because YouTube takes 30% of any money that you're paying through Google, they're taking 30% of it. Whether it's a membership or YouTube super chats, tips, whatever it is. And we certainly appreciate, never expect, but always appreciate any tips. And the thing that sucks for a content creator is when you want to give that contribution to the content creator, not only will YouTube extract nearly a third of what you've given, they make the content creator wait 30 to 60 days before that money will come through. With an Amazon gift card, there is no fee. We get the money within minutes of you sending it, and we're probably going to spend it on Amazon to buy the products that you see on this channel. Sometimes manufacturers will send us products in exchange for a review, but never are we paid. So the only way that we sustain our business here is through your support. That way we're free to speak our mind with no consequences. If I say I don't like something, there's nothing holding me back to worry about upsetting or losing a sponsor. Quite frankly, if there was something that bad, I wouldn't want them as a sponsor anyway, because my morals and values are higher than money. I want integrity and sustainability that's trustworthy, that you build over time. I'm not looking to make $5,000 today and then go hustle somewhere else. Number one, I don't want to work that hard. Number two, it would keep me up at night. I wouldn't be able to sleep. Number three, I run a real business, and I've been running my real business since around 95, 96. I started in the industry in 91. So about 5-6 years into the industry, I just said, I'll do this on my own. That's how that happened. So I've been on my own since then, and it's a dog eat dog world out there. You've got to struggle to survive. You got to get the customers. You got to do the work. You got to do the billing. You got to deal with the trouble. You got to deal with the headaches, troubleshooting. And so if I'm selling my clients junk, or if I'm ripping my clients off, I probably won't have clients very long. And some people don't care. Some people in this industry just want to gouge as much as they can out of somebody and move on to the next sucker. I don't want to work that hard. I'll be honest. I'd rather have one customer paying me a fair amount over a long period of time and then build that relationship. Because other people, they don't care about relationships, they care about money. And the problem with that is it's like an addiction, because they're not getting rich. They're usually spending it as fast as they can make it. They have an addiction to money. Now, we all need money to pay the bills, right? No differently than anybody else. But anything you have above and beyond that, maybe a little dining out, maybe a movie, some mild entertainment, when you start making money in the way that adds up to what 5 or 6 regular people make in a year, it's a bit excessive, and I can't help but wonder, what are they doing and how can I do that? Because there are careers where you can do that legit, morally and ethically, like being a doctor or a dentist, or having a skilled trade. So there are skilled trades in this industry, and cybersecurity and specialities that you can absolutely make a killing on and do it morally. But when it comes to computer tech work in general, you're looking at an industry average of probably $50,000 to $70,000 a year, and then maybe if you're lucky, you got a good employer or something, you can work your way up to maybe 80. You have to go into basically system administration to go beyond that. And then, of course, if you specialize in a very vertical, very narrow-banded speciality, then you can charge a whole lot more, just like a doctor. A general practitioner doesn't make the kind of money that a specialist makes. So if all you do is look at feet, you're a podiatrist, or maybe you're an ear, nose, and throat doctor, you're a specialist. You only look at those things. That makes you worth more, but it also means you have fewer clients. General practitioner can see anybody for anything, pretty much. And so they can make the money through having a lot more customers that pay less. So either one of those ways is valid. But if you've got a general practitioner that wants to charge you the price of a specialist and they're not even doing a very good job, that's the equivalent of a lot of the techs out there today, in this country anyway. And it's hard to separate them. It's hard to know the good ones and the fair-priced ones from, you just got to roll the dice. You look for referrals, you ask friends if there's somebody they recommend, look for reviews, but eventually you're going to have to roll the dice and find out. And then, like a doctor or a good mechanic, if you find a good, reliable technician that's fair in their pricing and fixes everything right the first time, doesn't try to oversell you and doesn't sell you junk, you don't want to let them go. You make sure you keep their number, and they'll appreciate you and you appreciate them, and that's the way the world should work, in my opinion. Edward Bass says hello in the chat. There's Paul Vircher joining us as well. Welcome in, guys. Good to see everybody. Hope you're having a great Friday the 13th. All right. So the machine we're looking at today, fully decked out, it's pricey. But a machine like this 10 years ago would have easily been twice as much money, with nowhere near the power, nowhere near this amount of RAM. And it would be a much larger machine that costs a lot more money in electricity to run. So you have to keep everything in perspective for what you're getting for the money. In fact, I think I paid $1,200 in around 1990. It might have been 89. I think it was 90 for my first IBM compatible computer, which was a 286-12 with 4 megs of RAM, a 40 meg hard drive, an amber screen with the keyboard, the mouse, and I got it cheap because a friend of mine built it for me. That was easily $2,000. Now, that's $2,000 in 1991 money. Given inflation, $2,000 in 1990s would be about $5,000 to $5,500 today. So I want you to keep that in mind, especially when minimum wage back then was like $4.90 No, it was $3.35, I'm pretty sure. So you had to work a lot longer to earn a lot less. So then the price doesn't seem, you know, if you don't take that into consideration, the price may not seem as big of a deal unless you lived it and you remember the sacrifice and just how much money that was back then. So you're getting a lot more computer for the money, ultimately for a significantly better value. So let's take a look at MINISForum's website. Now they do have a Valentine's Day special coincidentally happening right now. And don't let me forget, we'll take a look at what they've got going on that's not necessarily related to this, but their whole inventory of machines. Let's jump over to my window capture. There it is. Okay, so here's what we're looking at today. This is the MINISFORUM MS-02 Ultra. So normally they've got this MSRP at around $37.49. So I don't know that I've ever seen them sell at this price. And you might think, wow, that's just even $3,000 is a lot of money. But just to give you some perspective, that's sold out. That is such a good deal. They can't make them fast enough. It seems crazy, right? That there's that many people that have that kind of money. But there it is. I mean, the evidence is there. Positive reviews all across the board. Although this is MINISForum's own website, so I don't think they'd be posting negative reviews. But we'll just cross-check that over at Amazon and see what people are saying. So the processor on this is a Core Ultra 9 285HX. They also have a version of a 275HX and an Ultra 5 235HX. And then, of course, they're going to be cheaper. So this one here is significantly cheaper, which is the Ultra 9 275HX. But that would be bare bones without any RAM, without any storage, and without any operating system. Significantly different. And then they have even lower on the tier is the Ultra 5. So essentially it's the same case. It looks the same on the outside. The Ultra 5 235HX at under $600. And again, bare bones. Also, this expensive version has an additional add-in card that's 2 25 gig network ports with additional 2 NVMe ports. That's a card proprietary, MINISForum's own design. And that enables you to have 4 network connections plus your Wi-Fi plus 4 NVMe drives. That's pretty insane. The other thing that's insane is the machine itself, as we demonstrated on the bare bones version, it has 4 SODIMM slots, not just 2. That's how we're able to get to this much RAM. It's 4 sticks, 48 gigs each for a total of 192, if I'm doing the math right. So yeah, 192 gig of RAM and 2 terabyte of storage on this one here for $15.59. And the reason the other one is slashed out is because it's sold out. So if we jump over here to Amazon and take a look, it says they've got 12 left in stock. There's the 225 gig SFP Plus ports I was talking about, 4 NVMe slots, 4 DDR5 SODIMM slots. It's a 2 terabyte SSD in there with 192 gigs of ECC RAM. It's insanity, absolutely insanity. So it's a lot of money, I understand. It's a lot of computer. And if you tried to build the desktop equivalent of this, if anybody in the chat room wants to go to PC Part Picker or whatever and put together the parts to make the equivalent of this to USB 4s, put everything in there in your own custom build, I'd be curious what your total would be. I'm going to guess it's going to be closer to about $4,200, but it'll definitely be more than $3,000. That much I know. So, but don't believe me, check it yourself. Take a look at what some of the marketing here says. It's 24 cores, 24 threads, up to 5.5 gigahertz. The Ultra 9, by the way, the one we're looking at today, this 285HX, is a mobile laptop processor, mobile processor. So they're not as powerful as the desktop processors. However, of the same class. This processor, the Ultra 9 285HX, is about the best that you can get from Intel on a mobile platform today. They do have the next series coming out any day now, but this one is equivalent to like a 14900K desktop processor, in case you were wondering. So nothing to shake a stick at. What else do they have to say here? Enterprise grade reliability. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing here, is the fact that this is really more of an industrial use, except it doesn't come with the industrial noise. It's a pretty quiet machine overall, but can be used in an industry that requires just a whole lot of power. And industry is often very expensive hardware. So this is discounted, especially if you consider what industry is paying for something traditional like this, or what I mean is like this in a traditional format. Yes, it supports multi-drive expansion, RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, and RAID 10. It's got, like I mentioned before, PCIe slot, and thermals on this are fantastic. Dual slot GPU support, but it must be a low profile. And the size is 4.8 liters. Everything's pretty easy to work on. Everything slides apart. Again, you've got 4 different network connections on this version, 225 gig. And then you also have the 10 gig port and a 2.5 gig port. You know, a little bit of everything. If you wanted to turn this into a OpenSense firewall or something, pfSense firewall, you could totally do that. It would be overkill for this machine to do that. But it absolutely can do that. It's ready for Proxmox. Just load it in there if that's what you want to do. It's been tested and thoroughly designed to work with that. And it's very easy to pick it up, tuck it under your arm, and walk away, take it somewhere else. Try doing that with a traditional server. USB ports. We've got 2 10 gig per second USB 3.2 Gen 2s on the front, and 2 USB 4 version 2 Type-C ports. That's 80 gigabits per second. Display port output is supported, and 15-watt power delivery. There's a 3.5 millimeter audio jack and a power button. That's the front of the unit right there. On the back of the unit, I/O shield is reserved for PCIe 16 and by 4, which is right up here, number 5. And then the Kensington security slot, because this is pretty easy to steal, if it were just something you were worried about, you can lock it down with what's the equivalent of a bicycle lock. It's a steel cable that locks into the back of the unit, and you can then take the other end and, you know, secure it to something that's not easily movable, like the leg of a desk or something that may be bolted to the floor. No one's taking it. And that security cable would be sold separately. It's got 3 more USB Type A 10 gig per second slots in the back. It's got the 10 gig Realtek RJ45 and an Intel i226 2.5 gig in the back for Ethernet. An HDMI port in another USB 4 Type-C. This is not version 2 though. This will be 40 gigs per second. Also supports display port and 15 watts of power delivery. And then the add-in card with the 2 additional 25 gig that we mentioned is included with this model, and the power supply is built in, so you don't have to deal with any power bricks. And that's what the back of the unit looks like. So it's no joke. Let me jump back over here to camera 1. So when I was referring to like ready to eat, it just occurred to me the word I'm looking for is turnkey. Turnkey meaning it's ready to take it out of the box, plug it in, and use it. Bare bone systems are not turnkey systems. And that's the industry term that we use. It took me a minute to get there. Let me look back in the chat before we do our unboxing and see if anyone has any questions, concerns, or wants any clarification before we do our unboxing. Andy said it's nice to see what's possible in a small form factor computer. Agreed. Rick Lakes joins us and says hello. David Herzog joining us, saying hello in the chat as well. Essential Working Too Hard saying hello. Our friend Buster is saying to Morton, happy 30th anniversary to you and your beautiful wife. Oh, I guess I missed that there in the chat. Happy anniversary. Wow, 30 years. You don't see much of that these days. It's nice when people pick the right partners, you know, and we always think we do, but time definitely is the teller of all truths there. It's like playing a lottery. It's like he won a lottery. Got a good scratch ticket there, my friend. Great, I'll let my wife know you think she's a scratch ticket. You know what I mean. Essential Working Too Hard, now a member for 29 months. He says, happy holiday, happy Friday the 13th to one and all. Thank you, Essential Working Too Hard, for renewing your membership and continuing to support us here on the channel. Elijah Dickens said about 45 degrees Fahrenheit in Washington, D.C. Oh, there it is. He says, speaking of Friday the 13th, today is my 38th wedding anniversary. I don't know how she did it. Nice. You know, a lot of people, I'll tell you my thoughts on this. A lot of people will say, wow, you know, congratulations, like you've accomplished something. But really, what I hope is that it was really easy. I hope that 38 years has just gone by very, it wasn't a fight and a struggle. I mean, obviously, throughout 38 years, there will be some fights and struggles, but it's not. I hope that it was an easy 38 years, that everything just works and continues to work. And that is amazing when two people can just mesh like that. And it's so unusual. It really stands out and absolutely serves as inspiration for all of us that the right person's out there. And when you find that right person, you both know. You both know it. So that's about what I can say on that. It either means you're very lucky or you have very good judgment. Maybe it's a little both. Or you're just rich and she puts up with you. Oh man, to be rich. No, I'm joking. All right, let's go. We ready? Here's our box. This is what it looks like. This is what you get. Let me just check something here real quick. Just noticed something on my audio that's a little concerning. Okay, everything looks good. Unboxing the MINISFORUM MS-02 Ultra edition. Okay, in the box right now, I can see we've got our packing foam, and then we've got a box of accessories here. There's our mini PC. It's pretty chunky. And it looks like it's put in sideways. I'll put it up like that. We've got some packets of desiccant in there, and then this box contains our accessories. So let's take that out and take a quick look-see at what we got in here. There's like a folded piece of cardboard that's holding a couple of these things back. I guess that's to keep this strip from getting bent. What that strip is for, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's look at what we've got. Power cable, that's a standard C13 power cable, probably the computer you're using now. If it's a traditional desktop, it's the same power cable. You got a shorter HDMI cable. You've got what looks like a keycap puller, but that's not what it's for. We've got a heat sink and thermal tape and some silicon bands for adding another NVMe drive in there. We've got some documentation. We have some screws for something. And let's take a look at what the computer looks like. Now this is sealed, this bag that it's in, so there's no real easy way to open it without tearing it apart, but that's okay. It's not meant to sit in a package. It's meant to be taken out and used, just like me. All right, there's our computer right there. And if you notice real closely, it's got rubber feet on the bottom and it's got rubber feet on the side. Why? So if you prefer to lay it like a traditional desktop horizontally, or you prefer to have it vertical like a tower, it is designed to run either way. Now this little guy here, this is to help you disassemble this computer. How would that work? Let me see if I can get you a close-up here. If we want to open this computer up, we remove this, or just unscrew this thumb screw here, and the inside separates from the outside, but there's really not much you can grab onto. So you don't have to use this, but the idea is that you put this in with these square holes back here and give it a pull. I'm assuming I've got all the screws out. These are just little dust covers that are in the 25 gig port. I'll just leave them in there for now. And I think, I'm not sure. Oh, there's one more screw. It helps if you take both screws out, if you don't want to work as hard as you just saw me work. Then we can take this and put it in here, and grab it, and now it should just slide out. Okay, so if you're wondering what this weird little tool is for, again, you don't have to use it. You might be able to grab it here or other places and slide that out. That is a thick piece of aluminum. And then inside, we've got just all kinds of craziness jammed in there. You can see the pre-installed RAM, our Wi-Fi card. There's our NVMe with the same heatsink that's included, already installed. You see that's got to be a very low profile heatsink. If you try and do that yourself, you might have a hard time getting the cover back on, because most heatsinks that you buy for NVMe drives are thicker than that. And let me bring this up close to the camera. Let's go this way. We'll get a good look-see at the insides as it arrives from the factory. So there's our 2 sticks of RAM right there. And there's another 2 sticks of RAM on the other side for a total of 4 sticks of RAM. That's SO-DIMM memory, designed for mobile platforms. That's our Wi-Fi card right over there. That's our NVMe drive right there. And then if we turn this around, look at the other side. You see, if we put a graphics card in here, we could put, like, let's say a 5060 NVIDIA in here. This tape is meant to go over the top of the graphics card in this piece to seal the air from escaping, so you don't have any cooling problems. It's a seal. So when you put your graphics card in, you have a little gap right here, and the air can be pushed out. We want to push the air through the back. So that isn't necessary in most cases to have to use that. It's a good idea to use it though, and that will just give you that seal for better airflow if you put a graphics card. If you don't put a graphics card in there, you've got 2 slots you can use, right? You got a regular PCI 16 and a by 4, and then this add-on card right here, this is our 25 gig port, dual 25 gig Ethernet, and it's got 2 additional NVMe slots in there as well, and this has built-in heat sinks, so you don't have to add any. That's insanity. Now the other 2 sticks of RAM are located under this piece. We'd have to take this apart to get to it, but they're going to be the same as what's on the back side here. Pretty nifty. And it's chunky. It's got some weight to it. You definitely wouldn't want to drop it on a toe. All right, which way does this go on? I think it goes on this way. Let's see. Pretty easy. And these can just be thumb tightened down. You also noticed, if you look closely at there, I forgot to point out, there's a couple extra power cables coming off the power supply. for that graphics card if you put one in. Now, because this has USB 4 version 2, there is no Oculink port, because at 80 gigabits per second, it's faster than an Oculink port. Well, faster than most Oculink ports, right? Because they're usually Gen 4 by 4, which I think is the same speed, if I'm not mistaken. So they do have external GPU docks that will plug into USB version 4. So if you wanted to put a full-size GPU on this externally, it's absolutely doable. Like I said, this will do everything that any computer pretty much today can do. And that means anything less than that it can do with ease. All right, so that's our accessories. Again, the screws, I think the screws are for the NVMe drives. Usually there's some pretty mild documentation, but you're going to want to go online and get the PDF file for the full documentation. But often what's included is a list of what's in the box, which, you know what, I don't see here. These MINISFORUM and other manufacturers lately have been including more or less disclaimer and warning type documentation, not necessarily documentation we're accustomed to receiving, like how to hook it up and plug it in and things like that. So we would need to go to MINISFORUM's website to pull documentation, or if you need any support or drivers. Let me show you how that's done. So we're going to come over here back to the browser, and let me just go to Google, and let's share the screen right there. And I'm going to just type in MINISFORUM support. And there's our support center. I think that's what we want. User manuals is what we're looking for. And right here under product help, it says search. And they have a lot of different models, so I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes looking through every model they make. Let me just search for the MS-02. Hit the search button and scroll down. The MS-02 Ultra. We've got a BIOS here, version 1.03, so we'll check and see if that's what we've got on this unit. Otherwise, we'll update it. There's our driver package, but all that's pre-installed. And hopefully the latest BIOS is already pre-installed. They have a tutorial video that's both in Chinese and English, and the user manual. Now, this is what they're no longer including when it comes to a lot of electronics these days. And the reason for that is, one, it's a lot cheaper. It's not wasting any paper. It won't get lost. And they can update it from time to time. It's not like they're going to mail you a new manual if there's changes. So this downloads a .zip file. We'll click on that, and what it opens up is pretty much every language of manual that there is. Let me see if I can screen capture this. Give me just a minute. Let me go to a display capture. This gets a little wonky, so bear with me for a second. There we go. Let's minimize that. Now you should see what I'm seeing. This is the inside of that zip file. And there's French, Italian, Spanish, Polish, Netherlands, Deutsch, English. Double click. And everything you ever wanted to know. For those of you that are more technically minded and you want to get into more detail than we will in this video, this will be your go-to. You're welcome to do that now or at your convenience. This is a free download available to anyone at any time. The screws, see, it says we've got the power cord. Yep. We got the HDMI cable. Yep. The SSD heatsink. Yep. User manual. I wouldn't call that a user manual, but it's a manual. We've got the Mylar piece that I was talking about. That's the sticky seal. And then we've got the clip, which again, I think they could have done a better job telling us what this was for, because this baffled me. But they tell you just read the documentation, Carey. I just would think things were a little better labeled, but you know, that's a me thing. Taking a look at the board and how the front of the board versus the back of the board and the layout of it, as well as the different ports. Continue scrolling. I see getting started, plugging it in, how to make sure you turn the power supply to the on position. If you're wondering why it won't turn on when you use the power button in the front, just like a regular power supply, it has an on-off switch on the back of the power supply. A little bit about the installation guide. There's a picture of the use of that little clip right there. And how to get to the RAM. The RAM is underneath the heatsink here on the front of the board that I have to take apart to show you, which we did in the bare bones version of this. That add-in card that only comes with the Ultra, only comes with the expensive version, is this card right here that has the 225 gig SFP ports. If you don't want to use this card, like, it comes with it on the high end, but you could take this out and put a, let's say, a video capture card in there, and then also put in a high-end graphics card, and you could do your gaming and streaming. So you can use the slot for other things, but you cannot use this card in other computers. This is a proprietary card designed by MINISFORUM that will only work on this MINISFORUM computer at this time. It's their own invention. But the good news is, as a standard port, you can use it as a standard port. With regards to those screws, I never saw the screws mentioned in the parts list, so I'm not sure what they're for. It may be for the NVMe drives, though I'm not certain. And some examples of, you know, how the graphics card would go in, how to turn a thumb screw, and then of course you've got your boilerplate information, FCC statement, and then of course their website. Contact information is there. I guess when you click it, it takes you right to the website, which is cool. And that's at miniscloud.com, but there's also minisforum.com, and it just kind of depends what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for support, if you're looking for downloads, if you're looking for the store to buy directly from them. So it's nice they keep all that information available. Let me go back. Hold on a second. Let me turn this display capture off. A little dizzying. I don't know how I dragged that all the way up there. Let's bring that back down. That was weird. I don't know how I did that. I dragged one of my inputs on OBS all the way to the top, which bugging me. Let's see, do they say what our warranty is? I believe this is a 2-year warranty for MINISFORUM. Let me just verify what it says. So of course, if you buy it from Amazon, you have a full 30 days to return it for any reason. Let me go back over to Amazon. Let's look at this together. What do the reviews on Amazon say? Hey, there's a review from a guy I know. I trust that guy. This is a review from, there's our images that we took from the bare bones build and what we got out of it, right? Our Cinebench results and our Crystal Disk Bench results. But it's not just me. Well, this person's reviewing the R1. So MINISFORUM on this Amazon page, they have a lot of different models. If you scroll all the way up here, Amazon allows the manufacturer to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different models on this page. So if you buy one of these 11 models and want to review it, they all fall under the same reviews. I wish Amazon did not do this. So these reviews aren't all for this unit. In fact, mine might be the only review for this unit. And this says they're a verified purchase, but of what? Usually it tells you what they purchased. And MINISFORUM's not alone in this. I want you to be aware of that when you're shopping on Amazon for any product, to watch for that. And if we go back over to MINISFORUM's page, I think, yeah, they also do a 30-day free return, lifetime free technical support. And they have something called a 2+1 warranty, which is a 2-year factory warranty, but you have an optional 3rd year you can add, which includes accidental coverage, like I spilled something on it. According to what they're saying, I've not tested it out, but when you're spending this kind of money, it may be worth considering that extra warranty If it was a budget mini PC, I'd tell you not to waste your money, just buy another one. They accept pretty much every payment method on the planet. Although there's PayPal, there's Google Pay, Apple Pay, American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and a bunch of things I never heard of. Diners Club, is that still a thing? JCB, I don't know what that is. Union Pay, don't know what that is. Afterpay, don't know what that is. Klarna, oh, that would be like financing, although PayPal offers that financing as well. I don't know what card that is. And then there's also Visa Electron, I don't know what that is. Maestro, and they deliver through all the traditional means, DHL, UPS, FedEx. And there's a couple here that I think are for other countries, because I've never heard of these two. So you're not dealing with a small-time player. You don't have to worry that they're gonna take your money and not ship a product. We've been working with MINISFORUM for several years now. And not only do we get great quality and great service, the prices are, I don't even know how to compare the prices, to be honest, because there's nobody that really makes anything competing to a lot of their models. There's really no other competitor on the market with a machine like this. Now, I know there are a lot of the AMD versions of this that can look very similar. And even when I'm trying to think if the Nemo that we looked at was AMD or Intel, because it's very similar in shape and design. But none of them are going to have that 25 gig dual SFP plus network port with the additional NVMEs. And there's always uniqueness and novel innovation coming from MINISFORUM that in many cases never gets matched in the industry. Like the competitors don't even try. They have a G1 Pro and a G7 Pro, which I can't wait to get my hands on those. There's nothing on the market like them. And the units they're replacing from last year and the year before, nothing has come out to compete with those. So it's hard to say, are they priced really, really well when you have nothing really to compare it to? It's kind of a one-of-a-kind original design. And you can't say that these days for a lot of this industry where people just copy each other. So just bear that in mind. And of course, if you build one by hand, build a traditional tower and buy all the components, that would be a good way to judge if you think you're getting a good price or not, in my opinion. Let me go back over to the chat here real quick. Andy says Oculink is 63 gigabits per second. So Oculink is slower than USB 4 V2. Good to know. Daring says that's a great description of this computer. Yeah, you know, the problem is it would be difficult for me, the way I use computers in my business, to demonstrate the full capability of this fully working Death Star. But since I don't have any planets I can blow up, Alderaa's already gone. Someone beat me to it. The least I can do is plug it in, turn it on. Let's go through the out-of-box experience. Let's verify it's seeing all the RAM, it's seeing the right processor. We can run Crystal Diskmark, see what speed and what make and model of NVMe we have in here. I guess that's as good as any place to start. So let me grab, I'm standing on all my cables, so I'm looking down trying to find my power cable, which found it. We'll plug that in. Let me make sure the power supply is in the off position because I don't want this thing jolting on. I need a keyboard and a mouse, which I keep right over here. And I'm just going to plug the dongle in anywhere. It's a wireless dongle for the keyboard and mouse. And I always use those really small, compact, rechargeable, USB-C rechargeable. Actually, that's USB. I think that's Type-C. Anyway, USB rechargeable batteries in these. So they're really compact, no numeric keyboard, because I have such a small desk. And I'm going to use this keyboard and mouse to control the streamer. And then I'll use this keyboard and mouse to control this unit. We're not going to plug any Ethernet into this. Anytime you build a computer, or you get a brand new computer, a laptop, a desktop, go through your out-of-box experience with only keyboard, mouse, and power. Do not plug any USB, printers, flash drives, none of that. Keep it all out until you get to your desktop. That way you can avoid going through the hassle of the creation of a Microsoft Online account, unless you want one. And you also will avoid the hassle of waiting for downloads before you even get to the desktop. The problem is if you were to have a problem with one of the downloads and then it won't go to the desktop as a result, you might think you got a bad computer. So it's best practice. In many cases, a lot of mini PC manufacturers will include a warning piece of tape, with a warning on it covering your Ethernet ports that says, do not plug this into the internet until after you've gone through the setup. And I'm glad to see that, because I'm sure that has resulted in a lot of unnecessary returns and support calls. Thank you, Microsoft. So without any Ethernet, we've got power, we've got the keyboard and mouse, and then I just need to plug the monitor in, right? I suppose you'd need to do that too. I kind of left that part out. Plug in your monitor, and that's it. Those three things: keyboard, mouse, monitor, power. That's four things. I think of the keyboard and mouse as one. That's how you should turn on every laptop, every new mini PC, every new computer you've built yourself. And I can't stress that enough. If you want to avoid headaches and nightmares and diagnostics, start simple. Make sure you get to the desktop, go through your out-of-box experience in your settings. Once you get to the desktop, once all that's behind you, then go ahead and plug it into the network, get your Windows updates, then install your printer. Just one thing at a time. And then if something stops working, you know it was the last thing you did. If you want to gamble and try and do everything all at once, it might work out for you. Good luck with that. So I'm going to go ahead and power this bad boy on. So we'll flip the power supply switch to the on position, and then we'll hit the power button right there, which turns blue. And now I'm going to jump over here to the video input here, and we should see the power on self-test. Now, you know what? Let's leave camera 1 on, but let me put myself in a corner. Now, with 192 gigs of RAM, your power on self-test could take a while. Because this was already done at the factory, it fired up pretty quick because it had already trained the memory before it left the factory. If, on the other hand, you're building your own with 192 gigs of RAM, you should watch our video from the other day, because we sat there what felt like an eternity thinking this thing wasn't, not this one, but a machine would not turn on, simply because we had 96 gigs of RAM in it, and it needed to train that memory. And it took darn near 5 full minutes, which feels like an eternity. And that was on, was that Wednesday's video? No, I think it was Tuesday's video that happened. But you need to have patience if you're building it yourself. When it's brand new from the factory, it should already be pre-trained. So here we go. We're going to fire this bad. It's firing up right now. And let me get rid of camera 1 here for a moment so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. This is the proper out-of-box experience. This is what I expect to see. And yes, English United States is what I want. United States again. United States again. Skip any other. Wants to connect me to Wi-Fi. I'm going to click right down here. I don't have internet. And MINISFORUM includes the version of Windows to allow that, so you don't have to do your Shift F10 or your bypass NRO. I appreciate that MINISFORUM has built that in for us. Hit the accept button on the license agreement, because you don't really have a choice. And then we'll just put a username of user, and we'll leave the password blank. I like to leave location settings on. That's going to keep our date and time always synchronized at all times, including daylight saving time and lost minutes or gained minutes that happen with a clock over time, as well as being able to search for things near me. If it doesn't know where I am, how can it tell me? So this is my personal preference, and that's why. With that, it's got all the information it needs to go ahead and get us ready for the desktop. When the desktop comes up, at that point, we can go ahead and go online, whether that's Wi-Fi or wired is up to you. But universally, whether it's a laptop, a mini PC, or even a computer you just built or a desktop you just bought, this is the proper way to turn it on the first time if you want to avoid headaches. David Graham mentioned it can take over an hour if you leave the Ethernet plugged in during your first boot up waiting for all those updates to install. Oh, that's entirely possible depending on the speed of your internet and how far back the operating system is from updates on a machine that you bought off the shelf that could have been on a shelf for many, many months that is missing a ton of updates. It's going to take a long time. That results in a support call. People want to send the unit back. They think there's something wrong with it. And manufacturers have responded, as I've already mentioned, by putting a little piece of tape over the Ethernet ports. MINISFORUM doesn't do that, but it's pretty common these days and highly advised. Coming from a real working computer tech, if you want to dismiss that educated advice, you know what? Your freedom, man. It's your time. We're already at the desktop. That happened pretty quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my Ethernet cable in right now. And we do have a 10 gig network connection here, but I don't know which one of these is 10 and which one's 2.5 on the back. As far as I'm concerned, my internet's not any faster than 2.5 anyway, which is pretty damn fast. So there's no benefit to me. I can plug it into either of those two. If I had SFP, I could plug it in SFP. I'm only going to get the fastest speed that it can connect to, which is my router, which is a 10 gig router, and my internet is 1/4 of that speed. So that's still approximately 4 times faster than the average. So we're, hey, big shots over here, right? Now with the internet plugged in, let me get rid of camera 1. Let me go back full screen on my desktop so I see it the way you do. And you can see all the icons filled in based on my region once I was plugged into the internet. Date and time are off a little bit here. Instead of going into the BIOS or instead of changing this manually, what I would do, even though it's set to adjust the date and time with my location settings on, the default is not setting the time zone automatically. I don't know why. If you turn that on, it should correct us right down here, which it did do, and synchronized. Well, while we are here, let's hit Windows Update, check for updates. And again, these are my preferences. While I'm waiting, I like to turn this on. And I like to turn on this. Check for any optionals. I don't even care what they are. I just grab them all. Okay, you can read what those are. I don't care. I want them. And furthermore, we're going to go down to advanced options. And under delivery optimization, I would turn that off. I find that my updates happen faster without it. If I was in a big business that had 15 computers, turning that on means when one updates, it can share those downloads with the other local machines on the network, saving time. But for the rest of us, it's probably taking more time because it's trying to look on the local network, which is a waste of resources and can slow you down. So while we're downloading and installing, let me make a few changes. I want to change my resolution because I think we're in 4K. Yeah, let's drop that to 1920 by 1080 so my old eyes can see it. Keep those changes. And then let's look at, right-click on the Start button. Let's go to Device Manager. Make sure everything's happy in there, right? Because with the bare bones unit, we had to put all the drivers in by hand. This is factory, turnkey, ready to plug in and use right out of the box. We just want to get it updated. If we want to see what we've got for the network cards, again, we can look under Network Adapters. And you see we've got a number of them here. We've got the 2.5 gig Intel, the 10 gig, where's our 10 gig Realtek? Right here. It is Wi-Fi 7 for those wondering, and that is provided by Intel. And that's also what's providing our Bluetooth. And then those two 25 gig Ethernet ports on that add-in card are both Intel E810s. That black screen that kind of goes and comes back, that's a video driver that's installing right now. Give that 1 minute, it'll come back again. So that's good. That means we're getting new drivers. And we do have a Neuro or an NPU, neural processor unit, on this CPU. So if you're doing large language models, local AI processing, the CPU's got that built in. What else can I tell you about it? Let's go back to System. So we'll right click on the Start menu. We'll go to System. And we can verify storage is 2 terabytes. It's sharing 128 megs for the onboard graphics. Installed RAM recognizes 192 gig at 4400 mega transfers a second. And the processor verifies it's an Intel Core Ultra 9 285HX. You can see the same information verified here. It is Windows 11 Pro version 24H2, so we will want to update that to 25H2, which will be through Windows Update. That's just one of the missing updates. And I expect 25H2, we've only seen pre-installed once so far this year. Because it just came out in October, it takes manufacturers a while to develop a new system image, and then for that to then get shipped, distributed, put in the warehouse, and finally sold. About 6 months. So we're looking at probably March or April before we start seeing 25H2 as a standard default install on new machines. But if you're buying a new machine that's been sitting on the shelf a while, you still might get 24H2. Some occasions, especially on budget machines, very low priced, we've seen 23H2 still installed. In which case you might as well just blow it out and reinstall it because you're going to be forever on your updates. You don't have to do it that way, but you might as well. Or you could always use the Windows Update Assistant and skip over 24H2, go right to 25H2. There's a number of different ways you can do that, but for me personally, I think I would just blow it out and start over because I think it would still be faster. But the end result will likely be the same, just the amount of time you want to spend doing it. The benefit of letting it happen automatically is you can walk away. You can go do something else. Go out to dinner, go run some errands, go grocery shopping. When you come back, hopefully it'll be done, you restart it. It'll wait indefinitely for you. You don't have to wait for it. So if it takes an hour to install 24H2 and then after that it wants another hour to 25H2, just plan accordingly. Set it before you go to bed. When you wake up in the morning, it'll still wait for you to restart, or it may have restarted on its own. In that case, you can just kick off Windows Update again. If you just want to take care of it yourself, you can do it a lot faster by just reinstalling Windows or using the Windows 11 Installation Assistant, which is a free download. If you just Google for that, it comes from Microsoft. So just waiting for these updates to finish. Let me just check our power settings because I don't want the screen to go off where we're live. Oh, and by default, they're both set to never. I'll change that to like 3 hours. If a computer does not have a battery, there's no point in putting it to sleep. This makes no sense unless you have a battery. Or you like to torture yourself with never-ending problems, then go ahead and turn it on. Okay, well that's running. Let me get over to the chat room, which means bringing back camera 1. And let me know what questions you have. Terrell Cochran said this little PC would make a great Proxmox server. You know, now that you mention it, Terrell, if we go over to YouTube, we're on YouTube and we're going to look at YouTube together. Let's go to YouTube. In fact, let me do it this way. Let's do this in Edge so I don't confuse myself. Let's see if we can grab screen for Edge. Okay, so YouTube, and just type in MINISFORUM. You'll see MINISFORUM has their own product page here, which and many other reviewers obviously looking at MINISFORUM, not just us, and we're certainly not the first. Although I think we're the only ones who've done the bare bones unit, I'm not sure. And it's funny the way that the algorithm doesn't show MINISFORUM first. But like these shorts videos, I think a lot of these are MINISFORUM. This one here says they're testing. MINISFORUM Official is the name of the YouTube channel. And if we look through here, there's Regan from MINISFORUM. That's that one of the ones I'm waiting for is at the G7 Pro. Is that what it's called? I forget. The G1 and the G7. Let's see. MINISFORUM MS-02 Ultra unboxing. So they have their own unboxing videos. Polished and edited, of course, not live like we do it. And then we should have another, yeah, build a real home lab. So check this out. I don't know why this box won't go away. Let me refresh and see if that goes away. Not going away.
How is it everything you hoped it would be?
And then some.
Love it.
No, that is not the video I wanted. Hold on, let me go back. I'm not sure why I'm getting this weird. Is that bleeding through from one of my other open windows? All right, let's see. MS-02 unboxing. Ultra gaming test on the MS-02 here. See how they put the card in there, and they'll put that Mylar strip across the top. Oh, they don't show that. Interesting. There is a video in here somewhere for the MS. Oh, I guess that white one was the G1, and this is the G7 right here. So this one's showing how you can build a high-performance live streaming studio with two pretty high-end MINISFORUM computers. So you're looking at about a $3,000 to $4,000 setup for those two, but you know, players want to play, there you go. So they're combining the gameplay capability of the G7 with the capture and bandwidth available on the MS-02. Although I would argue, I think you could do both with one. But clearly, if one was just for gaming, it would definitely perform. It would seem it would perform better when it's not under such a resource load. They have a video in here. I'm still looking. Well, we're waiting for updates anyway. Let's try this. Yeah, here's Proxmox. +20 virtual machines all running at the same time. See, they didn't use the tool to slide the internals out. Anyway, so MINISFORUM has a lot of content to check out if you want to learn more about this product and others they make. And oftentimes they have more than one video featuring anything from an unboxing to a demonstration to even how to disassemble it. That's pretty common. So yes, you also have traditional YouTubers such as myself that do those kind of videos as well. But MINISFORUMs are really highly polished, edited. The production values on it, they have a bigger budget than we do, and they have dedicated people that just do that. That's all they do. They're just in video production. So if you want to check them out, I encourage you to subscribe. And that way you can be up to date on their latest models and know what's going on over there, as they keep coming out with new models all the time. See if I can get back over to the chat room. Hey, there's our friend Mitch Morrison joining us. Good to see you, Mitch. And he says lots of advertising. Yeah, what's new? Are you aware of somewhere where there isn't? Let me know. Darren said the stats are very impressive of this computer. Chef MD2T, MD2 second says, I need a clean Windows 11 upgrade link. Just type in download Windows 11 into Google. The first link is Microsoft, and download the media creation tool, and you're off to the races. You can also just Google how to do that here on YouTube. There's about 100 different content creators that will walk you through that process, including myself. It's the same as Windows 10. We do it the same way today as we did it 6 years ago. Every year I make a new video showing it, and every year it's the same video. The only thing that changes is we go from 23H2 to 24H2 to 25H2. We go from Rufus. We download the ISO, although you don't have to. We download the ISO rather than make the image directly. We download the image file, then we download the free Rufus utility so we can automatically bypass the Microsoft account. But that's just a choice. You can use the installation media creator from Microsoft to do everything for you, but you will have to create the Microsoft account or do the bypass yourself. So either way, the information is very, very quickly found online, and it's very simple. Only get it from Microsoft. Don't download your Windows from anybody but Microsoft, unless you like viruses and stolen identities and ransomware, in which case, go ahead of me. Spider-Man says, what's going on with Windows 11 with all the bugs? Well, what bugs are you experiencing? Are you just leeching onto information online and now you're fighting somebody else's fight who may not even understand that the problem is them? Or are you personally experiencing a problem? We can help you. If you're here and you're experiencing an issue or misunderstanding, we can help you. But if all you're doing is reading information online and you're taking a side, assuming what you're reading is true and valid, you probably don't have both sides of the story. And I would strongly encourage you to hold your tongue until that comes out. If you are having a problem with your computer, we can help you with it. So if you can specify what you mean by a bug, we don't even know if what you're talking about is in fact a bug or you're not using it correctly. There's so much wrong with your comment that it just doesn't hold to be valid or verified based on what you've said. So again, if you have an example of a problem you're trying to resolve, we can help you. But if you're just reading information online and assuming it's true and accurate, that is a huge error on your part. And I would strongly encourage you to understand the difference between gossip and actual reality. So otherwise, you're just fighting a war against ghosts that aren't there. And you're welcome to do it, but I won't be a part of it, and I will not partake in it. It's silliness. So there are situations where bugs do happen. I'm not going to say there isn't, but I need to know which one is the one you're interested in specifically. And then I can offer you some solutions that then you can immediately reply to me and tell me if it worked. Do not ask on behalf of somebody else. If they can't be bothered to come in here and get some help, then we're not interested in trying to help somebody who's not here. Okay? It's not a joke for me. I get paid to do this. So there's an old expression, no good deed goes unpunished. Don't get yourself involved unless you are involved. It's affecting you. Chef says, I attempted to upgrade my Microsoft account. I lost all my Google bookmarks and contacts, and it was quite disastrous and comical. What do you mean, upgrade your Microsoft account? What does that mean? I mean, you have a Microsoft account, you don't have one. How are you defining upgrade? Were you trying to expand OneDrive storage space? Were you trying to add something like Office 365? What help me understand. I would further wonder why you aren't synced. If I wipe this computer out, the streamer, and I simply reinstall Google and re-sign into my Google account, all of my bookmarks come back automatically. It automatically syncs to my Google account. I also have a system image backup that I can restore, putting everything back the way it was. So why do you not have a backup? What were you trying to upgrade? And why do you not have synchronization turned on with Google? It's free. I have a lot of questions. It's like somebody says, I went outside without shoes on and I stepped on a piece of glass. Well, whose fault is that? Whoever left the glass. Well, if you can't control that, but you can control whether or not you're wearing shoes before you step outside where there could be glass, again, whose fault is that? So be prepared. That's all I'm trying to say. Old Cub Scout rule. Be prepared. Chef says, my Microsoft account is stuck with Windows 10. Again, I don't understand what you're saying. There's no such thing as a Microsoft account being stuck to an operating system. Your Microsoft account is created on servers. It's not created on the individual computer. So the server doesn't care. If you would be, instead of trying to tell me what's wrong, this is where the big mistake is. Don't tell me what's wrong with your computer. Tell me what you're experiencing. Tell me what you're trying to do and what the computer is responding with. And with that information, I can be helpful to you. But if you're convinced you know what the problem is and it's on Microsoft, you're wrong. You are completely wrong. It's never, in situations that you're describing, that's not a Microsoft issue. That's a user education issue, and we're here to help you. But we can't help you if you refuse to give us an opportunity to help you see it for what it is. If you only want to describe it the way you see it, what you think the problem is, then there's nothing more. You've boxed us in. You won't give us the full experience. If, for example, you say, every part of my body hurts when I touch it. Why is that? What's wrong with me? And I say, well, show me. And you go, well, look, ow, ow, ow. I see the problem. You do? You have a broken finger. It's absurd, and it's funny, and it's frustrating all at the same time. So again, if you knew what was wrong with it, you probably wouldn't be asking for help. So you need to take a step back and explain what it is you're trying to do, the response you're expecting to get from the computer. Tell us exactly word for word what the response is from the computer, and then we can help guide you out of this hole you've apparently dug yourself in that you think you're forever stuck in. That's somebody else's fault. This is true 99.8% of the time. So while it's possible there is an exception, it's highly unlikely. We can help you if you will let us, but you have to provide us complete information of what you're trying to do. Because oftentimes, what you're trying to do, you're doing incorrectly. And it's on you in those cases, which is not a terrible thing, as we all learn. But you've got to be willing to be open-minded enough to be able to say, what am I doing wrong? That's the first thing end users that are the most difficult to work with won't do. They won't acknowledge they might be doing something wrong. It's always somebody else's fault. And I'm not saying it isn't, but more often than not, it's the end user. They're the ones that are doing something wrong. And they don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, but that's education. That's how it comes to all of us. Welcome to the club. All right? So if I seem like I'm a little exhausted on the subject, it's because you have to let somebody help you. You have to be willing to accept that you might be screwing something up. And it'd be best when asking for help, in my opinion, is to say, what am I doing wrong? Right out of the gate. Because in my experience, the people who do that are often not doing anything wrong. The people that call me and go, I don't know computers very well, I must be doing something wrong, often have a technical issue that's not their fault. But the people are like, I don't know what's wrong with this Windows and Microsoft has a problem. almost always they're the ones creating the problem. And I can't explain the psychology of this, but it's almost true 100% of the time. So you can imagine when somebody calls me, depending on what words come out of their mouth, what my initial reaction is going to be. Something's wrong with my computer. Okay, I know where we're going. Versus, I think I'm doing something wrong. Okay, I know where we're going. Almost always I can predict the course of that conversation based on how that conversation starts. And in my opinion, you're always better off being humble, and you're always better off taking an approach that says, I must be missing information, I must be doing something wrong. Because no one can criticize you for that. But the minute you start criticizing others for a problem that maybe that you're causing, that's where it gets a little bit like, I don't want to say offensive, but just food for thought. So again, with information, we can be much more helpful. We want to be helpful if you let us. All right, let me jump back over here. How are our updates doing? We're still updating. Okay. Let's see. Back over to the chat. Darren says you want to research what Windows 11 has in it and what to avoid. Microsoft OneDrive duplicates everything in your documents, desktop photos. You mean a backup that most people don't know how to make that will cry and whine when something goes wrong because they were afraid of their privacy? See, information like this, in my opinion, Darren, is a completely danger and injustice to the rest of society around you. Windows 11 just surpassed 1 billion users in just 4 years. No other operating system has grown that quickly. The problem people have is Google will show you whatever you want to look for. If you want to look for problems with Windows 11, you're going to get a bunch of opinions and a bunch of facts and a bunch of misinformation, all negative. That's all you're going to see because that's all you looked for. If you want to look for all the good things on Windows 11, then you search for what's good. And all you're going to see is good. You won't see any negative at all. So if you're seeing information that's all negative about Windows 11, it's because you're looking for negative information on Windows 11. When you change what you're looking for, the computer will change the information it's providing you. When you personally have a problem, I'd love to hear from you. But if all you're going to do is jump on somebody else's bandwagon and fight somebody else's fight that you don't really fully understand in most cases, in my experience, I can't be bothered. It's a waste of my time. Nobody hires me to go fix somebody else's problem. Nobody pays me money to go fix somebody else's problem. So why are we doing it any differently here in the chat room? Why are we jumping on bandwagons that don't belong to us? Don't you have your own fights? Isn't there any particular issue that you've experienced that you'd like to share with us? Or can you only talk on behalf of other people from stories online that are completely one-sided? Does it occur to you there's a whole nother side to this you haven't considered and you haven't Googled, so therefore you don't know it? Then you can't exercise critical thinking, and then without that, how can you determine how you feel about it? You're just hijacking somebody else's opinion and experience without any experience of your own to back it up, unless otherwise stated. Is there anything else better? Is there a video game you got to play? There's got to be something else to do besides fighting on somebody else's hill for an issue that has no impact on you. That's crazy. Yeah, Windows 11 is so terrible. It's got 1 billion users worldwide faster than any other operating system in the entirety of human existence. That's how terrible it is. Nobody uses it. Oh, I don't know what to do sometimes. I really don't get it. Well, I said it, so it's true. Okay, I'm 10 feet tall and 4,000 pounds, if that's how we're playing it. Oh, I'm a millionaire too. Let me just check my bank account, see if this works. No, maybe I have to say it more. Nick Caffrey said, in reality, I don't even notice Windows 11, and that's a compliment. I don't use OneDrive because I prefer to keep my backups under my own control. That's not to diss it, I just don't need it. Hallelujah, that's what we're saying. Just because something works for somebody doesn't mean it's terrible for everybody else, or that it's good for everybody else. Either way, the fact is, if you want to take responsibility for your own backups and you lose them, that's on you. You're the one who caused the problem. You made your decision. You made that bed. You're going to lie in it. But if you start influencing other people who trust you, that's really offensive. Because unless you're willing to take accountability for any consequences of them following your advice, you shouldn't be giving out the advice. If a customer pays me to do a job and I fail to do the job correctly, or there's consequences that end up costing that company money, right? Because they can't operate the business because I didn't fix it right the first time. Not only do I have to come back and fix it for free, I may be held accountable for any amount of financial losses during the amount of time it takes me to get it right. But you can spew all you want on the internet and have no consequences to your words. And I can't make people stop that. They're going to keep doing it. But I can make the viewers aware to protect yourselves against information online. There's a difference between what you read and what you experience. I read today that it's raining outside, but I'm looking and there's no rain. I wonder which one I should believe. What I read online or what's actually happening through my windows outside. Common sense. But yes, we are happy to help you if you're willing to accept the help. But if your mind is made up and you're closed-minded and you think you have the answers, then why are you asking for help? You're your own hypocrisy. So, you know, there's got to be a willingness there. And then that's how you're going to learn. And we love helping people. We do. But you've got to allow us to help. Trina says, I never watched Super Bowl. I don't like it, but I am sure you enjoyed your delicious food fixings. Happy Valentine's Day to you and lots of love. Thank you, Katrina. Well, the Super Bowl wasn't much to watch this year, unfortunately, but I'm sure Mara's happy that she won't have to deal with any football till September. She's not a fan of football at all. But thank you for your warm wishes and thoughts. We appreciate it. Alan says, is Carey going to take Mara to dinner tomorrow? I don't like going out on Valentine's Day. I don't like crowds. So I will go celebrate a holiday a day before, 2 days before, maybe even a week after. I don't like to do what the sheep are doing. If all the sheep are all going to the left, I'm going to go to the right. Once they leave, then I'll go over there. There's one thing you're going to know about me. If there's crowds, I don't want to go. If I have to go places like Costco, I have to sort of plan for it. I can't just do it off the cuff. I get real panicky when there's so much chaos around me and no clear exit. So for me personally, places like Disneyland, places like going to the store, the department store between Black Friday and Christmas Day, I will only do what's necessary. I will put off anything else until after the first of the year. You can ask Mara. That is every year for me. I say, let's go get what we need, you know, for Thanksgiving. We'll get that a week ahead of time. I'm not waiting until the day before or the day of to realize, oh, we forgot something. We got to go to the store. Nope. Somebody else can go. I'm not going. So let's get what we need. Let's not be a sheep. Well before the holiday. Then after the holiday, you think I'm shopping on Black Friday? You think I'm going anywhere on Black Friday? No. You think I'm going anywhere that weekend? That's a retail? No. But then you get a little buffer for about 2 weeks, from about that following Tuesday until about December 12th. Things are more or less kind of normal. We go back to the stores, things are fine. Then as you get closer to the holiday, nope. Just we'll do without. I can order from Amazon and have it delivered to the house, whatever it is we need. We'll stock up on groceries, make sure we get enough to get us through the holiday. And then, of course, after the first of the year, everything returns to normal. So because they've decided, they being, you know, corporate America has decided that that Valentine's Day is a thing, everybody's expected to do something special on that day. You know, if my birthday doesn't fall on a convenient day, I celebrate my birthday on a day that's more convenient for me. And besides, with Mara and me, every day is Valentine's Day. We go out to dinner all the time. Every day is her birthday and Christmas and Valentine's Day when you're with me. I'm laying it out a little thick there. Let me get my boots on. Well, that's the way I see it. I might be biased. She's actually done quite well this year for Valentine's Day, and it's not even Valentine's Day yet. That's how I work. Morton said he's having surf and turf at home tomorrow. Yeah, that'll be the best, probably the best cooked, right? Because you do it yourself. I mean, surf and turf, you know, steak and lobster, something like that's pretty nice at a restaurant. But if you do it yourself, I'll bet you it always tastes better. You probably season it better, cook it better, get better service. Yeah. And Linda said February 29th is a lousy birthday. It's a great birthday.
The silliest conversation I ever heard.
If I was born on February 29th, I'd only be like 13 years old.
I know, right?
14.
Every day is Valentine's Day for us.
That's right.
I always do something wonderful.
I don't know what that motion was, but
Dancing.
she's dancing. We like to have our own holidays.
Yeah.
There's Mara Day, Carey Day,
Table Day.
Sable the Cat. Every day is Sable the Cat Day. Oh, I'll give you another example. We will not go out for fish and chips on a Friday. We can go any other day of the week, but I will not. I absolutely refuse to go. We have a favorite place we like to go for fish and chips. And I made the mistake once of forgetting it was Friday. I won't soon forget. Usually it's a very quiet, pleasant experience. We go in, we have personal attention from the staff, a choice of many tables to choose from to sit down and enjoy our dinner in quiet peace. Go there on a Friday, especially around dinner time. You'd be lucky to find a table, get somebody's attention for service. No, any day but Friday. That's the rule. After you start getting me, you'll be able to predict all this. Alan says you're the oldest 13-year-old I know. They've been telling me that since I was 13. Morton said his wife fries fish at home on Friday. I would, but it stinks up the whole house, so that's why I prefer to go somewhere else. Let them clean up the mess. Let the restaurant smell like fish. I made scallops for Mara once. It smelled like scallops in here for 2 days. Not a fan. Very fishy. Phil Stodd says, well, there's Mara Day, Mara Day, Mara Day, then Mara Day, then Mara Day and Mara Day, and then Carey Day. And that's your week. He gets it. We're just waiting on updates to install, so we're just kind of biding for time here right now. And hopefully we'll have this done here very shortly and we can reboot. I want to take a look at what NVMe is in here. I'll run Crystal Disk Mark on it. Splat said fish and chips in Australia is 99% takeout or takeaway. Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to take something for takeout, I might as well just make it myself. The reason I go somewhere to eat is so that I don't have to cook and I don't have to clean. Period. Even if it's fast food, I want to eat in the fast food restaurant, so when I'm done, I can throw everything in their trash, not in mine. I want to walk in with nothing, I want to leave with nothing. But that's just me. The other thing is, Studio C is very overcrowded. We don't have a lot of room here. Our kitchen table is filled with projects and items. We have little areas that we've cleared out just on occasion that we can eat something, but there's no room for candles and, you know, it's it's just way too much stuff in too little of a place. And I'm working my way through it, but I definitely don't want to eat here unless it's something like Doritos or something I can pull out of the air fryer, some taquitos or something I can stand up and eat. It's very rare for me to sit down at the kitchen table and eat, because then I have more work to clear space, which means I have to find a place to put that stuff that's on the kitchen table, which is only there because there was no other place to put it until at some point the kitchen table's not available. So you go out to eat, you sit at their dining room table, even sit at a bar, it's still a clear area. I'm good either way. I also like my food hot. If I bring it home, it won't be as hot. That's why I don't order delivery. I don't want lukewarm food. I want it fresh out of the oven or fresh out of the fryer, in my case. Watt says, I love the look of your keyboard. Thank you. That's a Gravistar keyboard, and we've got a review of it here on the channel. If you type in Gravistar on YouTube search, I'm sure it'll pull it up. Intro Jansport says, I've always loved watching you put computers together. It's something therapeutic and cathartic watching people do that. It's like watching Bob Ross paint. Did you see me dress up as Bob Ross for Halloween and do a computer build? That's exactly what we did. Bubba said, I just installed 128 gigs of memory and a 4 terabyte SSD in my MINISFORUM MS-02 Ultra and put the case back on. I have a Windows 11 Pro OEM USB to install the OS. Should I go ahead and get a Microsoft account? It's really up to you. It's like asking me after dinner if you should get dessert. If you want dessert, get it. If you don't want it, don't. It's really your choice. Splat says, where they get their fish and chips, they wrap it in butcher paper, so you'll still burn the roof of your mouth when you bite into the flake, into the fish. You know what? I guess it depends how long you're in the car, right? How far you have to drive, how cold it is outside, how hot it is, you know, if they're cooking it fresh. And then, of course, how the chips are. If the chips are soggy, if they've been under a heat lamp, did they come out as well? Is everything hot? So it's not universally the same, but I still don't have anywhere to eat it here. Like, I'd have to clear a space. Then I'd have to take all the leftovers and throw it in the trash, or not leftovers, but like the wrappers and bag and all the other stuff that's going to waste. So, but that's just me. We all enjoy our own. Maybe if I was in Australia, I'd do the same thing you're doing. I don't know. It ain't like that here, though. Not in my experience. Is there another way to bypass the account to activate Windows? No account is needed to activate Windows. If you're curious about how to avoid you know, where it says I don't have an internet connection, like you want to see that, then just use Rufus to create your Windows 11 media installer. And again, just Google that or hit it on YouTube. There's so many people making videos on everything. I promise you, if you just search for it, you will find it, and you will find it by the ton. There's no shortage. It won't be difficult to find, and we'll walk you through every step of the way. So I would look under YouTube search, even though we've done it ourselves. It's got to be 100+ videos out there that demonstrate this exact thing. Just type in how to create Windows 11 with Rufus and enjoy dozens and dozens of videos, and see one that speaks to you, that is clear to you, that you like, and watch it. It's super easy. They're all basically doing the same thing. Some show it better than others. Some may have accents or may speak at a pace that's hard to keep up. Just click on the next video until you find one that is relatable to you. It's super easy. Pat Johnson said, Carey, the 25 gig port also has the NVMe slots in it. Can you tell me what they would be used for and why you would use them on the Ethernet port? They're not used on the Ethernet port. They're used on the motherboard. The add-in card inside of here provides you with the ability to have both two NVMe slots added to your system. So when you turn the computer on, you'll see, let's say the motherboard has 2 NVMe slots and that add-in card has 2 NVMe slots. So when you turn the computer on with all the NVMe slots populated, you'll have 4 drives. It has nothing to do with the internet or the Ethernet. Nothing to do with it. It just happens to share the card slot. Card does multiple things at the same time. It can provide additional storage, and it can provide SFP plus 25 gig, and it can provide another SFP 25 plus 25 gig SFP plus 25 gig Ethernet. You don't have to use it all. You don't have to use one first. You can use any combination therein how you want to, as you choose, as it fits your needs and whatever fits your budget. It's just a further way to expand the system. And if you want to fully populate and use both 25 gig Ethernet ports, you can at the same time. If you want to populate all 4 NVMe slots, the 2 on the card and the 2 on the board, yep. You want to put it in RAID 5? Yep, no problem. It's just an optional expansion that's added to the Ethernet adapter, but it has nothing to do with the Ethernet adapter's operation. So I hope I'm clear on that. And I appreciate your question. If you have some sort of misunderstanding of how the technology works or how it may be or may not be limited, that's a great question to ask, and bring it on. Watt said, I'll never forget when Ryzen first came on the scene and you dressed as a monk. Well, because they were calling it Zen, right? So I had to be a Zen monk. Forgot about that. Jim Kinney says, will the renovation fix this problem, or is there a Studio D? I don't anticipate there will ever be a Studio D as of this time. I mean, things change. Life is chaotic and unexpected, but the problem we have right now is it's difficult to finish the renovation for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is there's stuff in the way. And the reason there's stuff in the way is there's nowhere to put the stuff. So until we can get the stuff out of the rooms that need to be renovated, where does it go? And if we have nowhere else to put it, then how do we renovate the room? I'm stuck in a logic circle here. So what this means ultimately is my focus needs to be on getting rid of things. It's time to let things go. There are systems that have been sitting here for a couple of years that aren't selling. I may have to take them as a loss. I don't know. Because the fact that I'm holding on to them it's holding me back from moving forward. So which is better, to take the loss now or to take the loss indefinitely by preventing me from moving forward? Once we have the excess gone, when we realize we're not doing this stuff anymore, this stuff can go, that's going to free up room. With the room freed up, we can then literally fill that space with some of the items we have left that we're not selling, and then renovation can pick up again, and the studio can finally be finished. But right now, it's just too much stuff in too little of a space, and it's very difficult to get anything moving forward with regards to the studio setup when we have to move things and shift things, which means you have to move it somewhere, and everywhere is sort of consumed at this point. So I either need a bigger place, which will cost me a lot more money month after month to store computers that continue to depreciate and not sell, or just let the computers go at a bit of a discount, probably more than I'm willing to do, but I don't know what choice I have. At this time, I really just want to sell the big computers locally. They're too expensive to ship. Plus, when you add on the cost of any type of support or potential damage that occurs in shipping, I don't want to have to keep coming back and revisiting it. I'd rather just let it sit on a shelf and take up space and have a customer constantly calling me with problems or needing help that lives in another state. So if it's somebody local and I can sell it and make them a really good deal, and if they need help, I'm local, that's a win-win for everybody. They get a good deal, I get it out of here. There's no shipping costs, there's no worry of any damage happening in shipping, and if there are future support problems, I'm here to help. But with the mini PCs, we've sold and shipped a lot of the mini PCs we've ordered, and usually it's about after a year that we've had them. It depends. If the computers were contributed by a manufacturer, generally those don't get sold. If we're buying the computers, we'll sell them just to recoup our cost, and we can use that money to turn around and buy another one, and around the wheel goes. But we do try to hold on to them for at least a year, just in case we want to go back and revisit any sort of things that might crop up that we want to go back and say, oh, was this computer affected by that, etc. So once they're a year old, it's also a lot easier of a pill to swallow to sell it for less than we paid for it. Nobody wants to buy the computer for what I paid for it because it's used, right? Then I have to pay for the shipping on top of that, which is on a mini PC, $35 to $50 to pay for the box, the packing, and just ground shipping or FedEx, cheapest shipping. But there's very little that can be damaged in shipping, and the shipping itself is very lightweight, small box, doesn't take up much room on the truck. So that I'm not so worried about the support side of. But I am worried about taking a financial loss on a computer I bought last week, and now somebody wants to offer me, $150 less because it's used. And then there's another $50 in shipping, and before you know it, it's not worth selling. The amount of time it takes to pack it, wait in line at the, get in the car, drive to the store, the FedEx store, get it packed and shipped, collect the tracking number, email the tracking number, follow up with the person who bought it. Did you get it? Is everything okay? That's a lot of work for very little money. It's not like I'm selling pretzels at the mall. Here you go, bye. So the machine's a year old, and then I'm going to take that kind of a hit. It's easier for me to swallow that pill. So usually we hold on to the machines for at least a year for that reason. I've had some machines I've held on for 2 years because the financial depreciation was such that I said, well, I might actually use this before, I can take a $200 hit for it today, or I can take a $200 hit for it in a year from now. So I might as well hold on to it in case I need it. There's no benefit to selling it today if it's worth the exact same. If the degraded cost kind of drops and stops, might as well just leave it there for a while. And if it's getting in my way and I'm tired of looking at it, okay, you know what I'm saying? But why would anybody pay more to me to buy it used than they could just go buy it new with free shipping from Amazon or from the manufacturer directly? So local sales are the best because you just take that out of the equation, and suddenly, it reduces the amount of financial loss. And again, support becomes a lot easier. Although again, with support on a mini PC, it's not like a desktop. They're just way more reliable. All right, let's get back over to full screen over here. Let me grab my utilities flash drive. Let's plug that in. And let's go to, I always like to put VLC on computers. And I need my Uncle Carey's Windows 11 optimizer. This sets a lot of settings that you could do by hand. It just does it a lot faster and more consistently because I'm running through a lot of computers here, and this makes my life so much easier. And let's see, we sell that, by the way. It's 20 bucks. You can run it on as many computers as you want to. There's no activation codes. We're on the honor system. We ask you not to copy it and give it away, but you're welcome to run it on your friends' computers. We just ask you not to leave it on there. If you want to support us and you don't want to see us go out of business, we just ask you to support us and don't steal. That's all I can do is ask. People are going to steal. They're going to steal. What am I going to do? And then, let's see, Crystal Disk Mark Portable. And if we want to, did I not copy that? Try that again. We can run Crystal Disk Info if we want to see make and model. Drag that over. I'm having some drop and drag problems. There it goes. We'll grab Cinebench. I don't expect this to perform any differently than the other one, than the bare bones version, but what I expect and what actually happens, once again, check with reality. And then HWI is hardware info. That's what we use to monitor temps. Drag that out. I think it might be time for me to buy a new mouse. All right, so the first thing I want to do is we're going to run Uncle Carey's Windows 11 optimizer. From our friends over at D7X Tech that we work with, do we want to check for updates? Yep. I don't think there are any yet, but we are working on a few more features on this. So that all comes for free when you buy it. You get the free updates. Now, these are sliders. If I want to just like add this PC icon to the desktop, I can slide that over. You don't have to do anything else. It just adds it right there. On the other hand, I want all of this turned on. We can see our version of Windows, our build. We can see Windows is activated, that TPM is installed, that Secure Boot is on, that BitLocker is off, and System Restore is on. Now, whether it should be on or off, and even BitLocker, no, I guess not BitLocker. System Restore, there's no right answer here. It's up to you. So you just notice how the mouse changes into a little hand. That'll take you to the System Restore settings, so you don't have to go find them. Just takes you right there. You can set that any way you want it. But with regards to all this other stuff, I turn that all on, including removing the remote desktop support that's built into Windows 11 Pro because it is a security concern. So I just remove it. I don't use it. We use other tools like Instant House Call when we want remote support that are much more secure and are much easier to use. So that's going to uninstall, and anytime this makes these kind of changes, it will require a reboot. So don't be in the middle of doing other things. You know, close out of whatever you're doing. And this tool takes a few seconds to run because it does a lot more than our previous Windows 10 optimizer ever did. We definitely want to add more value. And Windows 11 has some settings that really, in my opinion, should be the opposite of their default. Much of it has to do with performance. None of it's really about privacy. Like I'm not paranoid, and I don't understand the paranoia that's going on in the world today. Typically in my life, the people I see most concerned about where the cops are the people that are speeding or breaking the law. Otherwise, they're not really looking over their shoulder all the time. And I don't want to go through life looking over my shoulder. Just obey the rules that we're all supposed to obey, and it shouldn't really matter. And you know, if there were more cameras, maybe we'd have found Nancy Guthrie by now, right? This woman that was kidnapped. But because there weren't more cameras, we don't know where she is, whether she's alive or dead. And it's a tragedy that people would rather see somebody else suffer so that they don't get on a camera when they're outside. Now, when you're in your house, that's a different story. But when you're outside, man. Come on. Who are you hiding from? Who are you? I don't get it. I like my privacy. Yeah, okay. If you like your privacy, best to lay low. Stop drawing attention to yourself like the cheating couple at the Coldplay concert. There's the old expression, the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hit by the hammer. Blend in is all I'm saying. Don't try to avoid the camera. That draws attention to you. Just blend in, man. You have security through obscurity, in my opinion. That's just the way I see it. You're welcome to disagree with me. You want to go through life looking over your shoulder? I won't get in your way. I'm not going to live my life like that. You got to be out of your mind. All right, let's close that up. So you can see we've got all these optimizations now. One of them fixes the whole networking issue that Microsoft instituted some new security policies because of the bad guys on the internet getting more and more clever that browsing the network without passwords and authentications, even on a local area network, is no longer allowed unless you set up passwords and authentications. So I've put it back the way it used to be with my optimizers so that we can browse our network and get on our NAS without any passwords required. The NAS has no internet access possible, so I don't know who I'm protecting it against. Microsoft doesn't take into account what a secure LAN is. So if you have a secure LAN like I do, there's no reason to have all that extra passwords and stuff on unless you're probably the same person that doesn't like to be on cameras outside. You're paranoid. That's fine. Maybe if there's something on your computer you're paranoid about, get it off the computer. I don't know. Maybe an oversimplified way to look at it, but if I had something I didn't want people to find, the last place I'd put it is on my computer. Let's get VLC installed on here real quick. I once had, a very long time ago, I had a sawed-off shotgun, and a friend of mine sold it to me. And I don't know the history of the shotgun, but it was illegal. And I take it out to the desert and I shoot it and I had a good time with it. But I didn't want it after a while. I wasn't using it. And I was on the fence about selling it because it's an illegal weapon. So I broke it into pieces. And week after week, I threw a couple pieces in the trash so that all the pieces weren't together. And they were separated out by a few weeks of different trash visits. And then I don't have to worry about being caught with it. It's gone. I don't have to worry about being an accomplice if it were to be used by somebody else and they got caught with it. Get rid of it. Simply, very easy solution. Get rid of it. All right, let's see. Delete that. Let's go to Crystal Disk Info just to see what it's detecting has been installed here from MINISFORUM as our default NVMe drive. Looks like a Crucial P3. This drive supports generation PCIe 4x4 and it's plugged into a slot that supports 4x4. That's great. Okay, it's been powered on 8 times and it has 2 total hours of use on it. Sounds good. So generation 4, we could hit up to 7,300 megabytes per second on a really nice high-end drive. Let's see how this one does. We'll run Crystal Disk Mark Portable to test our speed. So we'll go to Crystal Disk Mark 64, yes, and hit all. Close this window, and we'll let that run and see what kind of numbers we're going to see. But I have just sold all the pieces. If you want to draw attention to yourself and put an advertisement, and this is before the internet, where are you going to advertise it? In the newspaper? You're going to post signs up on there? Do you want a visit from the police? How do you know you're not selling to an undercover police officer? Throw it. How much? Let me ask you a question. Do you know how much money a lawyer costs? Even if you've done nothing wrong, do you know how much an attorney costs? I don't know how much that little shotgun was worth, but I promise you it was nothing compared to the consequences of being caught with it. Nothing. Would you pay $75,000 to try and get $75? You would get exactly what you deserved if that's your logic. Throw it away. It'll be the best investment you ever made in your peace of mind life. Throw it away. Get rid of it. Destroy it. If I had a roommate that had drugs in the house, and I said to that roommate, I don't want these drugs in my house. If they're caught with the police, they can take the house. Do something with them. And if they won't, they're getting flushed down the toilet. It's no joke. Well, you're going to upset your roommate. He had $100 worth of drugs. Yeah, it's a $400,000 house. I'll spend the $100. Consequences, man. You don't have it. You don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder. If you want to have it, take it somewhere else. I don't want it around me. I don't want to be your accomplice. I don't want to pay for your consequences. That's on you. It's no joke. Go through it one time and tell me if you'll ever do it again. I prefer to not go through it at all. So, yeah. Mark Leibowitz said $300 an hour here in Chicago for an attorney. In most cases, you're probably looking at somewhere around 60 hours of attorney time, minimal. Right? You got consultation, you got research, you've got court time. So at least 60 hours minimal. So you're looking at, at least 5 figures to pay an attorney. John Famler said, you're a true man of my heart. You and I think much alike on how to dispose of certain items. Yeah, listen, I was a dumb kid. I had it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Then I grew up and I said, this is really stupid. It's not worth having. It's not worth selling. I don't know the history of that weapon. It could have been used in a crime before I got it, for all I know. Get rid of it. And don't just throw it in the trash. You don't want something some kid can pull out of the trash and use. No, because then you're responsible for it. So what you want to do is break it into pieces and distribute those pieces out over multiple trash loads over a couple of weeks. If you drive behind a building and throw in a dumpster, you're probably on a camera somewhere. That's suspicious as heck. Blend in, man. Throw it out with the rest of your trash, but don't make it your whole trash. Just get rid of it. Then you're clean. You're not doing anything wrong. There are police stations in some places that will accept firearms that can be not donated, but surrendered to the police department for proper destruction. But no. I don't want a conversation. Where did this come from and why do you have it, So we're looking at 7,000 on the sequential read speed, 6,400 on the writes. That's pretty darn close to the ceiling. And for a drive that's included in the machine, and you would expect a good drive in a machine of this much money, you get a good drive. Not the best drive on the market. It's not a specialty drive, but it is a high-end Gen 4 drive made by a well-known company that's trusted in their warranty and quality, which is crucial. All right, let me go back over here. And just to tell you, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I do and why I do it. If you find wisdom in that, good. And if you don't, good. Not my bed to lay in, okay? Your decisions have no impact on me. All right, let's go File, Save As, and we'll just save this to the desktop crystal disk mark as a JPEG. Yeah, no one's holding you to different rules than everybody else. You're not better than the rest of us, and you're not exempt from the rest of us. You're not asked to do anything we're all not asked to do. That's all I'm trying to say. You're not special. The same rules apply to us all, and the same punishments. If you want to break those rules, it's your choice. All right, let's go to sensors only. We'll hit start. Now I still have updates to do, and in fact there may be updates happening in the background I'm not aware of, and that wouldn't surprise me at this point. But I don't want to wait all day for updates, so let's just keep moving on here. I don't expect our crystal disk mark results, our Cinebench R23 results to be any different than they were on the bare bones unit, but maybe that difference in RAM makes a difference. I don't think so, because it's just a CPU test, but let's find out for sure, because we can assume what we think the answer is, or we can actually see what the answer is. And if you know me by now, I don't care about what I don't experience, and I don't care about information that doesn't come from a trusted resource. And if my experience is different than that of a trusted resource, my experience is the one that I know to be 100% true. That trusted resource now becomes like, they're doing something different than me. They're not so trusted anymore. It requires more investigation and a reevaluation if that trusted resource is still worthy of my trust. Experience will always take the lead. Okay, so core temperatures. Let's drop that down. Look at all those cores. Let me get rid of camera one because I'm sure I'm in the way. Or let me at least move it to the other side of the screen. And now, let's go back to desktop, Cinebench, and this is the same cooling system. I don't expect it's going to be any louder or sound any different. It's the same processor. I don't expect we're going to get much in the way of, every 2 tests will be different, but we should still be within the same ballpark of results we got on the bare bones version. But again, I'm saying should. Let's verify. So there's our current temps right down this aisle here, and then these are our maximum temps. I do hear the fans now starting to crank up. You definitely hear it, but it's not like I have to talk over it. Oh, it got a little bit louder. Let me see if I can turn this microphone filter off so you can hear it better, now that we've got it running. Filters. The problem is this machine over here my streamer can get a little bit loud, but I'm physically standing closer to this unit. So I think the fan you're hearing is this one. Let me try something with, let me just stop the test for a moment so you can hear the difference. It's not a big difference. It goes to basically silent. And then when we start the test, as the CPU gets hot, you'll hear those fans ramp up. It's not bad at all. And of course, the rear of it's facing me, and I'm standing less than 2 feet away from it. So if this were put on a desk just over in the corner, let's say, and the rear of it's facing the wall, depending on how sensitive you are to it, it's very mild. We'll let that run and see what other questions anybody has for me in the chat. And I'll leave the microphone filters off so we can hear the fans. I'll know when the test is done just by hearing the fans quiet down. Mark Leibowitz said, my birthday is early next month, so I stopped by a menswear store on my way back from my client visit today to buy myself a new... No, I won't say it. You're going to get all dressed up? Oh, you bought a birthday suit. I see where you're going. I get it. Cransvat says hello. Welcome in, Cransvat. Bikeman joins us and says hello. Says, I'm still trying to find a way to properly dispose of an old UPS battery that reached end of life. What major city do you live near? Oftentimes, places like Home Depot, Lowe's, and Best Buy will accept batteries, but there can be specific battery recycling centers. You could go to Google and type in battery recycling near, and then put your zip code and see what the results are. Bikeman said he's near Detroit. Okay. So if I would go to Google. Since we're waiting, we can just do this together. Let's jump over to Google. And we'll grab our window capture. Nope, wrong one. Hold on. That one should work. And then we'll type in battery recycling near Trenton, Michigan. Call to recycle, drop-off locations. Battery recycling is available through local, county, and retail options, including the Trenton Transfer Station on Hawthorne Avenue for household batteries. Other nearby options for various battery types include Battery Solutions and Wixom, but that's all chemistries, meaning any kind of battery, car battery, lead acid, nickel metal hydride, lithium ion. Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's, and Staples. So this place here, Trenton Transfer Station, at a UPS, you probably have a lead acid battery. That may be considered a household battery. You could call them before you make the trip. Wayne County has their own hazardous waste. They're going to take it, I guarantee. Retail drop-offs. There's a place called Battery Solutions on Holtz Drive that will take all batteries. And Comprenew. And they'll take alkaline and lithium ion, but your UPS battery will be a lead acid battery. It's that easy. I mean, the city of Trenton even has instructions here. So you're looking at lead acid batteries. Batteries. So alkaline batteries are like AA, AAA batteries, that kind of alkaline batteries. That's what they're referring here, not necessarily car batteries, which is essentially what a UPS battery is. Same technology. So I don't know, they don't specify lead acid. You could call the city, they have a contact us here. You can email them or you can call them at this phone number and ask them. Computers and accessories accepted at Riverview Land Preserve for recycling or take to Wayne County Hazardous Waste Collection. Best Buy stores will recycle, otherwise just throw away when it comes to fax machines, copiers, and televisions. Oh, I'm surprised to see them encourage throwing that away. Okay, well, I hope that helps you. Put you on the right path anyway. Looks like our max temp we've hit, what, 92 is the most we're seeing. It is mentioning some throttling happening here, but that's okay. The throttling is just temporary, it's just momentary to keep the computer from crashing. If we crash during Cinebench R23, that would be bad. That means we exceeded our heat allowance. So if you're not thermal throttling, then you're not getting the most out of your processor in those moments when it's thermal throttling. If you're thermal throttling all the time, you're doing something wrong. Either your cooler's not installed or working correctly, or you're putting the system under you're forcing the system to endure a resource load over an extended period of time. That would be like towing a very heavy trailer behind a small economy car. If you keep doing that, you're going to burn that car out. Furthermore, you're not going to have very good acceleration. It's going to be pretty slow, pretty pokey. You may not be able to go up some hills because that's not the right car to tow a trailer of that weight. So just because you can do something doesn't mean it's sustainable over a long period of time. So thermal throttling is there to function temporarily. It should not be on all the time. And if you're never hitting thermal throttling, one might argue you're not getting the most out of your CPU. So there's an extreme on either side of it. So it's okay to see it once in a while. That's what it's there for. And it looks like it may be throttling at 92, which is why you'll never see 93. That's my guess from what I'm gleaning from this information on the screen. And that may be even something you can adjust in the BIOS if you wanted the thermal throttle a little bit hotter. But the engineers have done all the math to say what's going to give you the longest lifespan out of your chip without burning it out too soon. What's going to give you the best reliability over the course of ownership. The engineers have done all the math, they've done all the tests. Not one guy sitting in his room, a full suite of engineers, college-educated, academic engineers who understand thermodynamics and silicon processor degradation to determine frequency versus wear, energy consumption and efficiency versus cost of ownership, reliability. And these are the numbers they're coming out with that are universally true for everyone. Now, there may be some people that are different than the rest of us who want to adjust those numbers for their own particular individual needs, and their consequences will be their own fault or their own success. It won't affect any of us. I strongly recommend you let the engineers do their jobs if you want the longest term ownership that's as trouble-free as possible. There may be a consequence and a price to pay for your impatience and demandingness today that ends up being a problem tomorrow or next year that other people with the same unit
never experience because they did not do what you did. And if you're okay with it, have fun. But understand the problems are your fault. It's not MINISForum's fault that you went in there and second guessed the engineer's decisions and then didn't realize that week after week after week of running it like that, that you're starting to experience problems that most owners will never experience because most owners would never do that. And if you're okay with it, knock yourself out. But don't be surprised. And the only way you're going to know if you got away with it is if you end up using this computer the exact same amount of time as the average when everybody else decides it's time to replace it. And you say, well, look, after all, I didn't have any issues after all. Okay, well, that worked for you. That doesn't mean that it worked for everybody. And it's a little late to tell us now because they won't be selling these then. It'll be something else by that amount of time. On the other hand, if you do suffer a consequence as a result of an early failure, then you'll say, well, that would have happened anyway. Probably not. All right, there's our final score. Let's do the single core test now, just to verify that our temps never do exceed that 92, which I do believe is the set thermal point in the BIOS for the reasons I've already specified. So we'll let that run, and let me jump over to the chat and see what you guys have to say here. Phil Stott said, most engineers have no real-world experience. Do you really trust that? I don't know what you mean by real-world experience. If what you're saying is the people that are designing and testing the things that you're buying aren't to be trusted, did you build your own house? When you go to work, did you build are you an architect? I don't understand. That just went right over my head. If engineering designs for a company that sells millions of computers isn't real world experience, who are you? Do I want to trust the guy who does it for a living, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, with a 4-year college degree, working with a team of others who may not necessarily agree on what the best process is and they have to work it out between them? Or do I want to trust a guy in the chat room? I mean, don't take offense to that, but I can hold MINISForum accountable. I can't hold you accountable. And MINISForum won't be able to sustain a business model if they have bad engineers. They just won't be able to sell units. They'll spend too much on warranty and returns. Their business would close up and go out of business. So the marketplace decides if the engineering is good or not. Again, I don't know if that's not real world experience. I don't know what you think is, but you know. Bill Stott said, I work on equipment that is designed by engineers and I have to fix their mistakes in the field. Yeah, I can't speak for what you do or the kind of work you do. I would love to put you in a room with one of those engineers though, because I think they would be very offended at what you just said and they would accuse you of not understanding that they more than likely have to work around budget constraints and government regulations that don't apply to you, and would probably get really upset that you would oversimplify the complexity of their job in a corporation with rules, policies, and regulations, that they didn't just wake up one day and decide how to engineer, you know, whatever it is you're fixing. It's not one person, it's a team of people in management. Sometimes management tells engineers to do stupid things and the engineers have to do what the management tells them to, or they lose their job. If you're not under that restriction, it's not fair to blame the engineers. But that's just my opinion on that. I don't come across as being better than everybody else. I wouldn't just blindly say, if you work in a trade, that I'm better than you, even though I don't work in that trade or I don't work at that level. So if I work on my own car in the garage and maybe I have my own little shop and I have Carey's car garage, I wouldn't go to the dealer and say all your mechanics at the dealer are stupid when they've had factory certified training and specific tools that I don't necessarily have, and they have to follow rules, regulations, and timelines that aren't on my schedule. We're not playing by the same rules here. But that's just the way I see it, right? I would never just throw a blanket over a group of people in a negative sense. They'd have to give me an opportunity. So if there is a company out there with bad designs, it's not, in my experience, the engineer's fault. It's the management's fault. They're the ones making the decisions. The engineers are just doing what they're told. But again, I've been in the industry. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen what the engineers at Intel wanted to do and how they were restricted. I saw what the engineers wanted to do, like, especially like our network engineers at some of the big corporations I've worked at, where they were told that you couldn't do that because of company policy, and it ends up biting the company in the butt, and they eventually come around, you know. I've seen that. The engineers had it right, and the management wouldn't listen. But, you know, you got to feel bad for the engineer who, first of all, is getting shut down by management, being told they're an idiot, and then the customer turns around and tells them they're an idiot when they were fighting for the customer the whole time. So they get it on both sides. They can never do anything right. That sucks. What a thankless job to have, you know? Now, if the engineer is the one approving, and if the engineer is also management, you show me that company, because I've never seen one. Maybe some guy that's self-employed, he does whatever he wants. That's a different, again, that's like two different things you can't really compare, because you don't have the same restrictions, rules, regulations, and obstacles. And if given those same restrictions and obstacles and you're aware of it, you might find those engineers were quite ingenious in how they worked around it to the best that they could given those restrictions. And it could be budgetary restrictions, it could be governmental regulation restrictions. You can have to be real clever sometimes to figure that out. And you might say, well, this design makes no sense, but you only say that because you don't know what the restrictions were. That's my opinion. So, we'll just agree to disagree. Andy's asking something. Oh, did you ever get your Nano KVM? Did that arrive yet, Andy? Let me go back over here to my full screen. I can't really see the numbers when I'm looking in the chat room. Yeah, we've never exceeded 92. And still about 3 minutes to go on the heat up, on the warm up, and then the actual benchmark will start. We'll grab a screenshot of that and set it aside. So we still have a few minutes. If you have other questions, comments, always enjoy the engagement. Even if we want to see things differently, that's what makes the world go around. That's the beauty of life. If we all thought the same, we'd have no reason to talk to one another. Just going back through the chat to see if I missed anything. If you have, again, questions or comments, this is the time to interact, because in a minute I'm going to be busy grabbing a screenshot and probably wrapping up today's video. We are about 2.5 hours in already. So I like to keep these around 2 hours, which in Carey Talk means 3 hours. So by the time we get everything finished up here and say our thank yous and goodbyes, we're probably going to be closer to the 3-hour mark. Nick Caffrey said in Ireland it's extremely difficult to get a firearm. Some farmers have a shotgun, but most people don't have any. Does that seem odd to you in the U.S.? I think we're pretty self-aware in the U.S. that most countries don't have the liberal right to bear arms. that our Constitution, that this country was founded on. It's an important, to an American, it is one of the most first and foremost of importance items in founding this country was the right to bear arms. It's right up there. It's right in its Second Amendment. It's second only to, you know, freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and, you know, the First Amendment, the whole freedom of the press, freedom to criticize your government. The next one is the right to bear arms. That's why people, the colonists, left where they were living and came over here and founded this country. Specifically, the most important reasons are right there in our Bill of Rights. Right out of day one, you say, well, make this official. We're going to list in order of importance why we left where we were, what we want in this new land that we're creating. And as Americans, we're aware most other countries weren't founded that way. So no, that doesn't surprise me. Sorry, I know that was a while back in the chat. I just now saw it. John Lewis joins us and says hello. Welcome in to John. Good to see you. Bikeman said the information on how to locate a place for his batteries to be recycled there near Detroit has helped him. Good. Well, I hope you're able to get that taken care of, and glad to hear you want to dispose of it properly. I mean, nothing stops you from throwing it in the trash can, but it's not good for the planet. It's not good for future generations, and it's nice that you do the right thing. Andy said, yes, I received the Nano KVM Pro a few days ago. It was exactly 7 days from my order to my P.O. box, and it works just like the other one. So you too, 7 days from China. That's pretty damn good. Me in the chat room says, thanks for the wisdom tonight. All right, I heard the fans cooling down or slowing down, so let me go full screen over here. Let's go full screen and let's see what we got. Yep, 92 is the most we ever saw, never changed. Our score, 34,183 on the multi-core test and 2232 on the single core test. So let me grab a print screen. Let's see, function print screen. And then we'll open Paint. Paste that. Perfect. Save it to the desktop so I don't have to wonder if I ran it and what my results were. I hate doing the same thing twice. You have no idea. So we'll go over here to desktop. And I'll just say Cinebench R23, whoops, space results. As a JPEG on the desktop. Save. And now I should be able to close, 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 close. Yeah, there we are, right up here. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Got VLC installed. I got Uncle Carey's optimizer installed. We're looking good. So the problem I have really is the computer's so powerful. I'm not quite sure how to demonstrate this in a way that would be relatable to most people. I could load Cyberlink Power Director and kind of go through video editing on it, but it's extraordinarily boring and tedious. This handles it just fine. You could probably load DaVinci Resolve on there if that's what you want to use, and that's a huge resource pig. But the whole point of having the 192 gigs of RAM is really beneficial for large language models and AI. That's really what the engineers were going for in this design. How would you use that? I'm not a developer. I don't think any of you are developers. Maybe some of you are. If you are, then I don't need to explain it to you. And if you aren't, it would be a tough thing for me to explain, and it wouldn't apply to you anyway. So I'm kind of stuck in a loop. All I can tell you is this will do everything your computer you're using now will do. And if you want to use it for game playing, you can either put a low profile like a 5060, I think is about the highest end GPU you can put in there, or use an external dock that's USB 4 version 2 and put a GPU in there. But I wouldn't buy this for gaming. MINISFORUM has a machine that's much better designed for gaming if that's what you're after. 192 gig in a gaming rig it's like putting hubcaps on a lawnmower. I don't know why you'd do that. Buy a hat to put on top of your hat. It doesn't make any sense. You can. Nobody says what you do has to make any sense. But this was first and foremost designed as like a server replacement. As they mentioned, they have a video specifically dedicated to Proxmox showing what, 22 virtual machines all running on it at the same time. And I don't think most of you really understand the point of that or understand even what that means. And that's okay. I don't mean that in a dismissive way. I just don't want to waste time talking about something that doesn't have any impact now or in the future. If you're not using your computer for that reason and you don't have that interest, there's no sense talking about it for two people who do. There are other channels that's all they talk about. And those two people could hang out with a bunch of, a group. Our group here is mostly everyday, ordinary folks with a computer looking for ways of, opportunities for upgrade, opportunities to solve any particular issues they have. And of course, in specific scenarios, to ask in the chat room for some guided assistance. If, my goal here is to introduce you. This is the way I see it. Let me go full screen here for a second. My goal is to introduce you to products. I can't tell you if the product has any use case scenario for you. But if you don't know the product exists, how can you make that decision? So I'm here to introduce you. Whatever product you see here, I'm just introducing you to it. I'm not selling it to you. I'm not telling you you need it. You have to decide that. So this is what it is. This is what it costs. This is how it works. This is why it was designed. Here's what it actually looks like in real life and how it comes out of the box. You should know exactly what you're ordering when you order it. There should be no surprises. You should know exactly what to expect out of it. There should be no surprises. MINISFORUM sells a lot of other mini computers that for all different purposes. This is an extreme mini PC for an extreme purpose. And honestly, for what it costs, it should be a lot more money. Now, if we look over at MINISFORUM's website, let me go back over there because I want to show you if, more and more we keep seeing people that want to play games and they keep coming into the channel, keep asking me gaming stuff. And I'm like, people don't pay me to do that in real life. But it doesn't mean you're not important. It just means you're getting me out of my wheelhouse, asking me about something I really don't know much about. And I don't want to give you wrong information and I don't want to guess. But I can tell you, if you wanted a mini PC for gaming that was really, really good, the MINISFORUM Atom Man G1 Pro, which is sold out, is AMD based it's got a pretty nice built-in iGPU. But if you say, no, Carey, that's still junk. I want like an NVIDIA GPU. Then you go back here and look for the G7, which should be in here. Yeah, here's the G7 Pro. It's a little bit more money because you're gaming, right? So expect to open your wallet if that's what you want. It's a 14900 Intel processor, which includes an RTX 5070 mobile graphics chip already built into it. Small form factor, and if you price out just the RTX 5070 component, just out of curiosity, let's do it now. I genuinely, I don't know what those sell for. But if you had a traditional desktop tower, and we want an RTX 5070 8 gig card, how much are they? Just the card. It looks, that's a 5060. 5070 could be $700. 5070, 650. We're looking around 650. Now, granted, these aren't the mobile versions, which won't be as powerful, and they won't have, the mobile version won't have this much RAM. So you are getting a bit more for your money, but it looks like 650, 800. Again, that's a 5060, so that's half the price. And the reason I want to bring this to your attention is that you can tell I'm not blowing smoke here. When you look at that price, never mind there's also additional discounts here. Subtract out the cost of that graphics card, and what are you paying for the i9, the case, the power supply, the cooling, the RAM? Oh, that's bare bones. That's why it's so cheap. If we add 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD, now we're at $1679. That makes a lot more sense now, but still a really good value. But if you want to put your own RAM storage in there and your own operating system, you can save a little bit of money there. But about half of the cost of this is just this piece right here. So I want you to keep that in mind, and suddenly the price becomes a lot more appealing. So again, it depends what you're comparing it to. Because if you want to look for a budget computer, you could go back over here to mini PCs, and you can look for something more budget oriented, but it will be a little more limited in what it can do. Let's see, the cheapest one I see, 327, 303, a little cheaper here. 199. What do you get for 199 bucks? Warehouses in Hong Kong. Oh, it's old. It's an old Celeron J, 4125. But it's also very small, very quiet. So if you're looking for like a media center PC, there's all different reasons why people use a computer, not just the way you do, right? And so they have to come out with a variety of products because just like cars. You may not like my car. Well, good. It's not important if you like my car. It's my car. I may not like your car. Maybe you drive around in a minivan I wouldn't be seen dead in. To each their own. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you got it in pink. I won't drive a pink car. You got to be out of your mind. But you might love it. So they make lots of different cars and lots of different colors for all different price points and all different use case scenarios. So for that reason, they make a lot of different mini PCs at a lot of different prices and a lot of different colors for a lot of different use case scenarios. And I'm just here to introduce you to them, to make you aware that they exist and what to expect from them. That's it. That's my whole goal. All right, just so we're clear. A lot of other YouTube channels are trying to sell you stuff. I'm not trying to sell you anything. You want it? Go get it. You know exactly what to expect, how much it's going to cost you, what the thing can do. And if you decide to buy one, please share your experience with us, because I've had enough gossip. When I hear from real people that actually exist that I know in real life, like you guys in the chat, and you want to share an experience you actually had, good or bad, I love that. And if you want to do that, you can even email us if you want to keep it personal, and you just want to send us the message. Here's our email address. We'd love to hear from you. Right there. We're not hiding. Mark Leibowitz says, I happen to love my pink minivan. Hey, not judging. You enjoy it. If I'm not there, start without me, okay? John Downey said below Carey's YouTube channel, it says Carey is earning a commission and has a link to Newegg. It looks like something YouTube has added. Yes, we don't have any relationship with Newegg. We don't promote Newegg products here. We don't work with Newegg in any way. YouTube does. So YouTube's trying to sell you stuff. YouTube's constantly trying to sell you memberships. They're trying to sell you merch. They're trying to sell you YouTube Premium, YouTube TV, any way they can gouge you and get your money, because this platform costs a lot of money to run. You can't even imagine the costs involved with this platform. I'm not agreeing that the way they're doing it is the way I would do it, but if I did it my way, it probably wouldn't exist because it would file for bankruptcy and close up. So going forward, you can expect YouTube to find more and more clever ways to get you to pay for things, not sponsors and not commercials. They're just not paying anymore. They need to get it from the viewers. They need your premium money. They need your YouTube TV money. They need 30% of all your super chats and your memberships. They need you to buy the YouTube merch. And YouTube automatically adds links to products that happen to be in the video that we've tagged. That's not why we tagged them. We tagged them so anybody looking for more information on those products can find our review. And YouTube takes that tag, which they've never done before, but they recently started adding QR codes and notifications in the video. And they tell the creators that if they make a sale, they'll give us a piece of it. You think they're going to give us the 30% equal that they take? I mean, maybe if I had 6 million viewers, that commission may add up to something worthwhile. But to have this disclosure, which I believe is required by law here in the US, that I earn commission, it doesn't matter if I earn a nickel or if I earn $5 million. That disclosure is required by law. It's the dumbest thing. Like, there should be a certain minimal amount of impact required before you'd be forced to, before that law would be enforced. And I don't even know that the law's ever been enforced, other than from the government to the YouTube corporation, but not to individual creators. Only if those creators are massive, right? And then those disclosures aren't being made. That's a different story. So yeah, we don't do that. That's all YouTube, and we cannot turn it off. There's no option. We can take our videos to another platform, but YouTube's the 500-pound gorilla, There's nobody that really, Rumble, Odyssey, none of those services even come close to the number of potential viewers you can get on the platform. So it comes with a lack of control, where we're not making what I think is a fair amount of money. I think YouTube takes too much. They take too long to pay, and they're not transparent that we even know the numbers that YouTube are giving us are real. When YouTube tells me how many views I had, how do I know that's real? Who's the third-party auditor confirming this information? There isn't one. YouTube polices themselves and decided they're doing everything right. And if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. I'd like to see that change, but I don't have a choice, nor does anybody else right now. And so here we are. And you can expect more of that in the future from YouTube until a serious competitor comes along, or until the government forces YouTube to get an outside auditor to verify payments and data that's collected is accurate and not being falsely, or whether intentional or unintentional, may not be calculated correctly. There's nobody there to verify anything, and there's nothing you can do except leave if you don't like it. That's it. That's it. And that affects me. It affects all of you. We're all in this together if we're going to be on YouTube. It's their playground. All right? They're saying that I earn a commission. Yeah, so in other words, if you click on that link that YouTube provides, whatever YouTube makes off of that, they give me a piece of that. But how would I know if YouTube didn't tell me? Without a third-party auditor to verify, let's say, for example, 12 of you buy this using the link, not the links I'm providing, the links I'm providing from MINISFORUM and Amazon. I make a small commission from Amazon. I don't make any commission from MINISFORUM. And if you buy from Amazon, I can see how many sales, but they may or may not be related to this video. How would I know? But I know somehow somebody used my link somewhere, made the purchase, and I get a commission from Amazon. But if you buy it with YouTube's link, let's say 12 people buy it, and YouTube says, hey, 2 people bought it. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, they just calculated it wrong. Maybe there's some error in the code. How can I verify that in fact 2 people bought it and not 12? And they go, here's your share of what we made, but we don't know how much they made. It's all obscure. So it's very random, and it's don't worry, trust us kind of a thing. And since they're sharing that commission with us, supposedly, honestly, by law they have to disclose I'm earning a commission. It's twisted. But anywhere there's laws, there's always little loopholes, and these companies will find them and use them, and they're not doing anything illegal yet. But it is without my consent. I did not give consent to that, and YouTube says, well, you can turn off all monetization. If I turn off all monetization, then YouTube will not allow me to collect super chats or memberships. They won't allow me to, basically YouTube will continue to air ads, but they just will stop sharing any commission with me. So YouTube's still not doing it for free. YouTube says you can choose to share in the revenue with us or not to, but we're still going to do what we're doing either way. Welcome to YouTube. So whether or not YouTube is being dishonest or honest, we just don't know until there's some evidence one way or the other. And I'm just surprised it's been around this long and there hasn't been a class action lawsuit by this point. It's hard to believe, but I guess everybody would rather lay low and not get involved and just take it, because there's nowhere else to go. So why risk biting the hand that's feeding you because you don't feel like you're getting your fair share? And you might be right. It may be illegal. On the other hand, you may be completely wrong and it's all on the up and up. Pick the hill you want to die on, I guess. If somebody starts a class action, I'd be happy to join it, but I'm not starting it. And that's, like I say, where else are you going to go? If I move to another platform, I'll never see most of you again. You just won't be able to find me. And that's the sad reality. Andy says, as long as it's question time, is there a problem with VIP URCD key? Are you having a problem? What brought this question up? I may need a Windows key coming up. Why would you think something's wrong? I guess that's where I'm confused. To answer your question, I'm not aware of any problem, no. But I don't know why you thought there'd be one. That's the part that I'm hung up on. Like, it just seemed kind of a random. Maybe you're seeing something I'm not seeing. Is the site not working? You haven't mentioned them lately. Well, if I mention them every single day, it's going to get really annoying. And we got to a point where it's basically like, look, if we keep talking about this over and over and over, fatigue sets in. If we don't talk about them again, they'll get forgotten about. So somewhere in there, we're trying to find a balance where we just take a little break and give you guys, I mean, if you're a regular viewer, you've heard me spout it thousands of times, or at least with that specific site, hundreds of times. So now we're laying low, shifting the topic, letting any sort of fatigue rest, and then we'll pick it back up again. So right now we're just we're just trying to find some balance, because I'm not here to make commercials, right? Those links that we provide are for you. I don't make a commission on them. If you want to buy a Windows key, I want to give you a trusted resource that'll save you money, where you're not going to potentially get burned, right? They stand behind the product. You got 6 months of support, yada, 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 all those same things, right? But I'm not going to keep hammering it down in every single video, because then I'm like a robot. And I've been fighting against any sort of ownership, corporate ownership, or control of this channel. And while I love working with them, and it's an honor to work with them, and it's an honor to be able to help my viewers out in that way, it can have the same effect as just spamming the crap out of you with the same ad over and over and over. And it's not an ad in the traditional sense. I don't make commission from that. So that's why it's not there. And yeah, we'll give it a rest for a little bit. Take the month off. Maybe reevaluate next month and say, is it time to start talking about this again? We'll see. I kind of feel like that's probably the right thing to do. So, anyway, that's why. Andy says, I appreciate the tips. They've always done right by me. Well, believe me, if we had a problem where people were emailing us with issues with them, we wouldn't promote them anymore. Like I said, it's not a commission-based link. So if it's not there to help you, then we're not going to offer it. But in this case, the reason we're not doing it right now is a totally different reason. It was getting a little bit too much. So just need to dial it back a little bit. But nothing to be worried about. But at least now I understand your question. It's like, what? Did the site stop working? Is something? You had me confused and worried for a minute there. All right, well, just like I said, I figured we'd wrap this up at the 3-hour mark, and here we are. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for your memberships, your friendship, hanging out with me today, and enjoying this discovery and exploration of the MINISFORUM MS-02 fully loaded version. Not cheap, but you do get what you pay for. In fact, I'd say you're getting a lot more when compared with other models in this price range from other manufacturers. And if you want to prove me wrong on that, I invite you to do that. I'm interested as much as getting a good deal as anybody else. And thank you to Mara for all the work she does in the background.
Welcome.
She's the one that does our thumbnails. She does our video descriptions. She's the one that primarily goes through the emails and answers them, so everybody's getting.
I love that thumbnail today. That was fun. That was
And she's
pretty
so
good.
humble.
What are you kidding?
And thank you, of course, to Mark Gaines and our friend Buster for their Amazon gift cards, and for all those membership renewals we saw today, too. Thank you guys for continuing to support us here. I'm still trying to find my viewer activity tab. We had Essential Working Too Hard renew membership, as well as Patrick Manny, Luke Grenia. Thank you guys for continuing your memberships here. And thank you for interacting with me. Andy said, what's coming up next? Well, that's a fair question, Andy. You know, the industry's been pretty slow. We're not probably going to see any really new, like, desktop processors until the fall, late fall. Around that time, we'll probably see 26H2 come out for Windows 11. 26H1 will come out for the new Snapdragon Elite processors only. So even if you have an ARM processor, as I understand it, if you currently have an ARM processor, even 26H1 isn't for you. It's for the latest edition of ARM processors. So like a whole different version of Windows for those new processors. I could be wrong. We'll see when it comes out, but that's not till April. And most of you probably don't run an ARM-based processor on Windows anyway. But 26H2 betas are out. So you will see content creators reviewing 26H2, but it's far from being done. So any criticisms or concerns they have is like complaining about the food when it's still in the oven and it hasn't finished cooking. So do take that with a grain of salt, no pun intended there with the food reference. But the information they're relaying is regarding a beta that's not finished. There's a reason why it's not finished, so don't freak out about it. It's in development, and those people who choose to, you could choose to be a Windows insider and play with it too, and see all of its downfalls and make videos complaining and causing all kinds of panic about it. If you want to, but as a viewer, be aware of what you're watching. It's not done, and complaining about it before it's done is silly. If you're interested in where it's at in the development cycle, and these content creators are worried because this doesn't work or this new feature's being added, doesn't mean it's going to ship that way. We're a long way away. We're not shipping for another 7 months probably. So there's 7 months of development still ahead of us. But that won't stop people from creating videos about it, and it won't stop viewers from overreacting to information that's in flux and not complete. So bear that in mind so you don't have to hop on that bandwagon that it's completely pointless because you're complaining about something like, oh, you know, they're building that hotel in Vegas, but it doesn't have any windows. I mean, how are you going to stay in a hotel without windows? Not windows, you know, but actual panes of glass. Well, they're not done building it yet. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Maybe save the review for when it's actually open and you can rent a room, is all I'm saying. All right. I'm just weird that way, I guess. I like to have personal experiences and not freak out about things that are in development. But if you want to beta test it and you like that sort of madness, I do believe it's open, that you can be a Windows Insider and torture yourself in that way if you like to. The rest of us appreciate the sacrifice of those pioneers. That makes our path a lot smoother when it's our turn. So yeah, we're seeing a pretty slow industry-wide, whether it's Wi-Fi, really nothing. CPUs, nothing. Motherboards, kind of doesn't matter. RAM prices, GPU prices, storage prices, it's not an ideal time to buy. So it looks like 2026 and maybe well into 2027 before we get back to where we were. Hopefully it won't take that long, but it's probably what's best to prepare for. Resources are a little tight in those areas and will remain so until this whole AI thing figures itself out. We still get machines from time to time. I'll tell you something I can share with you. We have a device that was sent to us, and I didn't think it through before I said yes. And it's this guy right here. The folks at Arico were kind enough to send it. That's an NVMe enclosure. You can put your own NVMe drive in there, but it's Thunderbolt 5. And without thinking about it, I agreed to review it before I realized we don't have a Thunderbolt 5 computer. Now, will this work on USB 4 V2? I do not think so, but maybe I'm wrong, because you'd think they put that on the package. With all the computers we've got here, Thunderbolt 5 is so new and it's so expensive to add to a motherboard, we've not seen it yet. So will this work in Thunderbolt 4? Of course, but why buy the Thunderbolt 5 version when the Thunderbolt 4 version is cheaper? So I'm kind of stuck. Be careful what you ask for, because we're running low on things to review. So when Arico reached out, even though the price of NVMe's is not a good time to buy, and probably most of you would say, yeah, I think I'll wait. I say, well, it's content, you know. It's not that hard to make content for something like this, and who am I to know what you guys may or may not buy? Then it occurs to me, I don't have anything with Thunderbolt 5. So I don't know. But you do have to provide your own NVMe drive in here, and you'd want it to be Gen 4. You'd waste your money if it's Gen 5, and you'd waste your money if it's Gen 3. Because you can buy a cheaper enclosure for Gen 3, and there is no enclosure for Gen 5 that runs faster than Gen 4. You're limited by the enclosure, even Thunderbolt 5. Maybe Thunderbolt 6, Thunderbolt 7. Then Gen 5 would make sense for an NVMe, but otherwise you're just wasting money. So ideally a good Gen 4 drive like the Feijing drives, that'll do like 7,400 megabits per second or megabytes per second. They'll do that in theory on Thunderbolt 5, the exact same performance through Thunderbolt 5. This has 8,000 megabytes per second total capacity. So when you include all your error correction and overhead, you're pretty much looking at the same as an internal high performance Gen 4x4 drive. That's pretty exciting. But again, price-wise, I think this enclosure is around $200, and then you got the additional cost of the NVMe drive. And it's no different than any other 2 terabyte drive or any other enclosure, only this can go as fast as it would internally. But you could buy enclosures from yesteryear that are USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 2, that would be 2,000 megabytes per second. You could get USB 4, which would be 4,000 megabytes per second, in which case you might as well just save money and buy a Gen 3 NVMe. And now we've got USB 4 V2, which will do 8,000, the same as Thunderbolt 5. That's why I'm not sure about the compatibility here. I don't know. Phil Stott said everybody is too concentrated on their phones. Well, consumers, right? Yeah, I think you live in a consumer world, and that's my guess. And you're not seeing the business side of things. Like if I try to get in the freeway Monday through Friday in Phoenix between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m., I'm sitting in traffic. So all those people are going to work. And at work, this is more likely something you'd see than you would in somebody's home. But I do believe we have 2 different worlds. We have the people who are mostly at home, and we have the people who are mostly at work. And the people who are mostly at work 40 hours, you know, they're working 40 hours, sitting in traffic an hour each way, plus their lunch hour. From the time they wake up, get ready to go to work and come home, most of their day's gone, and they're probably not spending it watching YouTube videos when they get home. They need to eat dinner, maybe spend some time with their families. And I think that makes up about 75% of at least the community I live in. And so I'm afraid that most of our viewers are the other 25% who are either retired or don't go to a traditional job, and they've simply forgotten that the majority of the world around them are using different hardware. They're not on their phones. They're at work using a computer. And the majority of computer sales and technical work is all being done in this industry by businesses. And the purpose of my channel from day one is to solidify that to viewers, that just to make them aware. Remember, there's a whole industry much bigger than the consumer side, 3 times larger, that you rely on as a consumer, without which you wouldn't have the things you have. You wouldn't have the pants you wear, you wouldn't be in the house you live in, you wouldn't have the car you have. But, you know, if somebody's working a full-time job, 5 days a week, and they're spending what little time they have at home joining us here on YouTube, wow, I mean, that means a lot to me because you don't have a lot of time. But I don't think that's the majority of our viewer on this platform. And so a lot of times when I'm showcasing product like this, for example, this is more likely to be purchased by a business. And I think this would also be more likely to be purchased by a business. And there's a handful of enthusiasts that would have the money and the wherewithal to, you know, use this kind of equipment. But I don't think it's the majority of people on YouTube. I really don't, at least not here on the channel. So I try to keep that in mind. But at the same time, I don't want to not show it. I don't want to make an assumption. At the end of the day, we're not going to show a lot of high-end stuff like this, but we will show it from time to time to make you aware of it. If for no other reason, then you know where the technology is right now, the peak of it. And that helps give us a barometer or a gauge for when we're looking at all these other things that you might think are expensive, and you find out, oh, that actually is pretty cheap, and yeah, it's far from the power resources that something like this has. Or even other, you know, there's external enclosures that are 20 bucks. It might be good enough for you. And we cover those because those are more than likely, if anybody's going to buy one, there'd be more people buying the $20 one than the $200 one. But in business, the reverse is true. So anyway, that's the motive behind what I do. So we did get this, and I've got plenty of NVMe drives. That's not a problem. I just don't know that this will work on USB 4. I may have to go ahead and unbox this off camera and just try it. Because if it won't work with USB 4 V2, which we have here, this will have to wait until at some point Thunderbolt 5 becomes available to me. To the best of my knowledge, MINISFORUM does not make a computer with Thunderbolt 5. They make it with Thunderbolt 4. So again, it's sort of those, be careful what you ask for. Here, you want something to review? Here you go. So when you ask, what's coming up? I don't know yet. We do have another computer to build for a gentleman, but he's not ready for it yet. And he's given us no timeline for when he will be ready. So he did send us the parts. And the parts, once again, taking up space I don't have in a studio that's overly cramped, that I cannot do anything with. I am obligated to hold on to these parts until the customer's ready. And I didn't have a problem making that agreement, but it wasn't made clear to me. I kind of assumed this would be done in what I thought was a reasonable time frame. But what I think is a reasonable time frame and what the customer thinks apparently are two different. I'm not going to pressure the customer. When they're ready, they'll let me know. So that sits in sort of a limbo for right now, waiting until the customer's ready. Will it be tomorrow, or will it be 8 months from now? Will it be next year? I don't know. I should have clarified that before I agreed to the deal. We'll see how it plays out. So there's so many things not in my hands. I can only react to, what opportunities are afforded to me. So when I had an opportunity to review the enclosure, it didn't occur to me. I don't have Thunderbolt 5. When a customer says, will you build it for me, and I'll order the parts now, and I say yes, and they say great, and then silence. And now I have to wait. And they're not violating the agreement. We'd never specified that. That's on me. So we wait. When the customer's ready, we'll make the video. I don't know. It's maddening because now I don't know how I'm supposed to plan things. So in the meantime, it's really easy to plan when you have nothing. So we'll find something, I'm sure. We do a show scheduled on Sundays every Sunday, one way or the other. Maybe it'll just be a hangout. Maybe something will come in for repair. Maybe something will come in for an upgrade. Maybe nothing will happen at all, but we'll still be here on Sunday. That's all I can tell you. So I hope you have a great rest of your Friday the 13th. Don't cross any black cat's paths. Walk under any ladders. I think you'll be okay. And thank you for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. Bikeman said he got his first Sabrent M.2 enclosure. That's coming. Oh, he hasn't gotten it yet. It's going to be here next week. He's going to decide which spare drive to put into it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's no shortage of enclosures, but Thunderbolt 5 enclosures are pretty rare. But then it turns out so is having Thunderbolt 5 on the computer. At least at this stage right now. Maybe it'll be more popular. I don't know. But I guess we're ahead of the curve on that one. We haven't seen any firmware updates from the folks over at Nano KVM. They were coming out with an update every 6 days. Now it's been like 2 weeks of nothing. So maybe things are finally so refined that there's not much left as far as polishing goes. I can tell you, I'm very happy with the Nano KVM remote. It's changed my workflow like you can't even believe what a difference it's made in my life. And it certainly makes me look at all the other KVMs differently, because it's only $10 or $20 more than a Jet KVM or a Pico KVM. The Comet KVM is like $50 more and more limited. So that Nano KVM Pro, there's just nothing like it for the price. So if there's one that I support and the one I use myself, it's the Nano KVM Pro. And I'm always open to seeing another one, but the only other one we've got would be the Kickstarter Arc KVM, and that's not expected to ship until March. Again, we will cover it once it arrives, assuming it comes to fruition. Everything we've ordered on Kickstarter so far has arrived. We also ordered an $800, we paid over $800 for an Orico NAS. This was prior to Orico, this was on Kickstarter. This was prior to Orico sending us a similar NAS for review that we didn't know they were going to do. And while the NASs are a bit different in how many drives they'll hold, they use the same OS, which is the same OS that MINISFORUM uses in their NAS, which makes it not ready for prime time. They're both still in beta and they both have a lot of work to do. So I've got a brand new $800 NAS sitting in a box I haven't even so much as cut the tape on, because I know when I unbox it and show it to you, aside from the fact that it looks a little different from the other Arico, it's running the same operating system that has the same limitations. I'm just repeating myself. So it's set aside until it's worthy of unboxing that we can actually use it. Because the way it's shipping right now, it might be fine for a home user, but I would not deploy that to any business customer. It's way too early. And in my opinion, shouldn't have been sold yet. You can replace the operating system with TrueNAS or, I don't know, what are some of the other ones? Unraid, there's a bunch of them. But again, for a home user that wants to play, have fun, I would not do that to me personally, would not do that for a client. I don't have that much time. So we want turnkey solutions that we can deploy and warranty and have a finger to point at when something goes wrong so that I can get backup and support for if I need it. So home users don't have that pressure, you know. And right now, the MINISFORUM NAS operating system and the Arico NAS operating system are effectively built on the same OS. And there's another company that keeps reaching out to us, wanting us to review their NAS, and theirs is yet another take on the same operating system. And the foundation operating system by the creator isn't finished. So they're working with an unfinished piece of software that they're deploying and selling to consumers, which I don't agree with it. Like if it was this close to being done, okay, but they're a long way from being done. So nothing new from Synology coming out. Samsung has their big event the 25th of February. They'll show off whatever their new phones and tablets and laptops are. That may be worthy of discussion, but I don't think that's anything we really cover here in person. We don't really cover phones or tablets, so it's interesting, but it's not really content for us. That's all that's coming up. So, but hey, we have each other, we have this great community, and there's always things to talk about. Whether it's what's the latest gossip is that everybody's ranting and raving about, or if it's any problems or questions you're having personally with any networking, any issues you're having, we're here to help you. And we love that, so don't be shy. John Downey said, is the Nano KVM available on Amazon? It is. The problem with ordering it on Amazon is you may not be getting the latest version. They make the first version, which has a silver rotating button, and it's mostly just an aesthetic change, really. But version 2, they've changed a few of the body pieces to plastic. The same center is still metal because it needs heat dissipation. It's packaged a little bit better, and it has a matte black button. And for that, you'd have to order it from AliExpress. Do bear in mind that the Chinese New Year is happening. In fact, is it happening now? And all the factories in China, a lot of them will be closed for the next 2 weeks. Let me just verify. Chinese New Year. So if you want to order anything that ships out of China, starting Tuesday, February 17th, the Chinese New Year begins. Now, most factories are closed for at least 1 week, and many are closed for 2 weeks. That means anything you order from China, which I believe includes if you order from MINISFORUM directly or you order from AliExpress, you aren't going to get anything shipped to you because they're all on holiday for up to 2 weeks. I would say 2 weeks just to play it safe. And if you're worried about that, wait until March, then place your order. And when you're ordering from Amazon, the Nano KVM, it's coming from China. It's not coming from the US. So those folks living in China will universally have at least 1 week off of work. That means everything ordered, they'll probably still take the order, but they won't do anything with it till they get back to work. Depending on the company, that may be 1 week and up to 2 weeks after you order before they will process your order. If you wait till after March the 1st, you should be fine. It's not like New Year's Day. It's a 2 week long, Google it. All right. But yes, it is, you can buy it through Amazon, but it will take, 10 days for you to get it if there's somebody there to pack it and ship it when you order it. All right, thank you again for watching. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here on Sunday, and until next time, bye for now.